Good morning and welcome to Bank Holiday Monday. Look at this. We're wearing Hawaiian shirts. Me and Pooch decided last night to come in wearing Hawaiian shirts. And we're late as well, starting 7:02. What's happened?
Nothing. They can see my shirt.
Oh, all right. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, there's Pooch's shirt. 7:02 because he's busy telling me about his trip to France and, you know, how he got stuck in a traffic jam. I'm going, hang on a minute. It's 2 minutes past 7. Can we not get on with it? Anyway, so I'm wearing shorts. I'm putting a picture out in a minute. I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt because I thought it's so hot. It's so ridiculously hot. What's the point, I thought last night, of coming in wearing a shirt and tie and a jacket, right? Because when I leave here, it's going to be about a gazillion degrees. And I'm delighted to say that Emma Wolf is also here. Very good morning to you.
But I didn't get the memo. And
I didn't know.
I'm wearing an elegant flowery dress, and I'm clashing with all the Hawaiian boys.
I think the elegant flowery dress kind of shows up the ghastliness of this shirt. And I don't wear it because I like it.
No, it's lovely. It's
I
lovely.
don't mind it.
Looks great with the shorts.
Yeah, the shorts are nice. New shorts, by the way, which
Brilliant.
I completely forgot I'd bought. Last year, I think, when I went to America.
Well,
I bought
that's nice
them
that they fit.
Yeah, well, I bought them smaller, you see, because that's my crusade. And so it used to be the other way around. You'd buy things and a year later you couldn't get into them.
Yeah.
So no, I went to the Ralph Lauren shop in Connecticut, which is an outlet store. And I don't know what I paid for them, but they're very nice. And so I had to take the tags off and everything.
And deck shoes?
These are my sort of Dubai deck shoes that I wore when I went to Dubai last year.
Yeah. Very good. But there's a real, in the studio, there's a real kind of summery vibe. It's extremely hot in London.
Well, yesterday, I tell you what, I got in the car to come back from Sussex and it had been sitting in the sun and it's 38 degrees.
Yeah.
That's what it said on the inside temperature.
In the night, I mean, I don't know if you guys are sleeping at all at night,
Not
but
really.
The night is burning hot. I have a top tip.
Yeah.
At about 2 o'clock, I gave up. I went and stood under the cold shower for about 10 minutes and it really helped.
Yes.
And I went back to bed and I felt, I could sleep for a couple of hours.
You can go to bed without actually drying yourself off. I used to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's great for the mattress though.
No.
You have to put like a towel down.
Or even a damp sheet just around you.
Yeah.
Really good.
Or have a, what do you call it, a flannel. A cold flannel is good.
Another thing someone told me about is this thing called a cooling pad, which are great for dogs.
Oh,
That's why I mentioned them.
Yeah.
But also apparently you can buy them and you lie on them. You kind of put them on your bed.
Okay.
Sounds a bit like a sort of wee mat.
This is weird.
Yeah.
I've got a cold pillow that I bought. I went to a supermarket not far from me. This was I think it was last summer, because we had a pretty big heat wave last summer as well. And I thought, you know, when you get to the point where you look at the pillows and you go, they're a bit kind of, blue.
Yeah.
I thought, I need a couple of pillows. And I was in looking at the pillow section and they had this cold pillow. And it's got some kind of copper thing going through it, and it's cool. So when you put your head on it, it's actually cool.
Through the pillowcase and everything.
Yeah,
That's
it
amazing.
works. I mean, amazing. And I've got a fan. Every year I go, should I get an air conditioner? All right, you Pooch. Have you got an air conditioner? You live in a big house, don't you?
But I bought one yesterday afternoon.
Because whenever you go to buy an air conditioning unit, they're all sold out. Because you don't even think of buying one in the winter.
Do you mean a proper one like they have in America, where you put it in the window and have a big old tube?
No, because you can now buy portable ones, which in fact I saw for the first time, I think a few years ago in Cyprus, and it's literally like it's almost like a heater, but except it blows cold air.
Amazing.
And it's really, really efficient, and it doesn't. I think they cost 200 quid or something.
I bought one on eBay for a $1 yesterday.
A $1, 1,000 or £100.
Pounds.
Eh?
£100.
100 quid. That's
amazing.
Good. So you actually got a second-hand one?
Yeah, second-hand.
That's brilliant. Can you get me one?
Maybe.
I've
got a good chat here, Mike.
But anyway, so here we are. Welcome to Bank Holiday Monday. You look like an aged Thomas Magnum. Oh, you mean old Selleck, Tom Selleck? Yeah. You mean Tom Selleck? No, it wasn't Thomas Magnum, was it? It was Tom Selleck, but it was what was Magnum's first name?
That's a good one.
What was Magnum's first name? We've got a poll, haven't we, as well?
Yeah.
Which is loosely based around the Hawaiian theme. Because apparently, this is the great thing though, if you live in a hot country, it's always a lot easier, isn't it? They can deal with it.
Yeah.
They know how to keep everybody cool.
They
There's
do.
plenty of air
Everything is set
conditioning.
up.
Yeah.
I mean, in America, places, or even in Dubai, you're freezing. You walk, it's 35 degrees outside. You walk through the hotel lobby and you're frozen.
This time last year I was in Dubai, and even though it was ridiculously hot, it never felt ridiculously hot.
No.
Although the sea was really warm, it was like soup.
A bit like soup.
Which I didn't really like, to be honest. But it was well into the 40s, and they had a heat wave.
Do you want to know how we deal with the heat in Islington?
How?
Well, A, not putting my 5-year-old in not many clothes, and secondly, we have this big freestanding fan, which he turns on and then puts his fingers in it, which is great.
God,
You know.
that doesn't sound safe.
Well,
Be
it's
careful
a fun
with missing
game.
that.
Everything is a fun game.
You have social services around
Yeah, of course I will.
before you know it. Speaking of children, we've got to talk about the young person's benefit this week from the. Well, we've got two things. We've got the money for parents to spur the young into work. He's a bit young for that. But I'm interested in it because
You
half
say
term.
that.
Yes, send him out to work.
Paper
It's
round.
half term, right? And we had this ludicrous nonsense last week of Rachel Reeves coming out and saying we're going to reduce your VAT to 5% so that you can go to Legoland. Now you're actually going to Legoland, so tell us how much does Legoland actually cost?
So, firstly, when I said to them, well, where's my reduction of entry into Legoland? The woman had absolutely no idea what I was talking about. Secondly, a friend of mine, a school friend, mum friend, who did manage to get money off for something, I think it was Chessington, said the saving was about £1.30.
Yeah.
I think someone else on X said it was about £1.64, depending on how many tickets you buy. But this
it's not much, is it?
Well, we're talking about £1 here or there.
Right.
This was on the same day that they said free bus travel for 5-year-olds who don't pay anyway, and the same day that they said there's going to be a tourist tax if you want to go to Cornwall or Birmingham or Manchester, if you want to go and stay in the Lake District. We're going to charge you up to £300 for families to have a staycation. When we're being told, don't fly, stay in the UK, support local. So this government is economically illiterate.
It is economically illiterate. They
because
don't understand.
They're literally imposing tourist taxes on families at the same time as they're saying, great summer savings.
It also costs a lot more money to go anywhere because if you have to get in a car, petrol is now, it's now running pretty much. I filled mine up yesterday, 157 I think it was down in Sussex. Up in London it's 162 for a litre of petrol, even more for diesel. And if you're getting on a train...
A lot more for trains.
Train fares are really expensive. I came up from Sussex, I think last weekend on the train, because I had to just come one way. And it was nearly 30, it was about 27 quid one way to go for just over an hour. On a train that doesn't actually go to where I was coming from. There was a replacement bus service, so I had to get a lift to the second station along.
And Mike, that's on a Sunday. Imagine if you lived out in Sussex and you commuted in.
That was off-peak.
Those fares, exactly.
£27 single off-peak. It's just ridiculous. When my son was working in London, at one point he was like, I could consider working from Sussex and commuting. He said, but it would end up costing in excess of about £35 a day. And he wasn't making that much money, so you can't do it.
You can't do it. No. Even on the tubes, which I know is a London-centric thing, if you go off sort of peak times, 6:30 to 9:30 in the mornings, a couple of stops will be £6 or £7. It's absolutely ludicrous.
It is mad, absolutely
the price
mad.
of travel.
Yeah, well, we've got a clip of Darren Jones. Darren Jones, who is the ridiculously named Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster. Thomas Sullivan Magnum. Is that his name?
That's what Lord Viking reckons,
I guess it's one of those, isn't it, where you never really knew his first name. You just know him as Magnum. Magnum
Lord
PI.
Viking is great. Lord Viking is the voice of common sense on this.
Well, he is on Magnum. Thomas Sullivan Magnum. He's just Googled it, though. This is the thing. People can look really good now, flash, because they can go, oh, yeah, I know that. But no, you don't. You've Googled it. I could have done that. Anyway, Darren Jones was doing the rounds yesterday. He supposedly used to be the main sort of administrator of the Treasury. He used to be Rachel Reeves' right-hand man. He's now Keir Starmer's right-hand man. And he gets rolled out. You know what really annoys me? And I did a wind-up yesterday. What really annoys me about him, look at his face, right? He's got this beard, but it's not a beard. It's kind of stubble, but it's designer stubble. Because there's nothing on his cheeks, right? It's a little bit, but he must curate that every single day.
I don't know how you maintain the designer stubble.
You can't, because technically speaking, Pooch will back me up on this, you can't have a sort of what looks like a 3-day stubble all the time, can you?
Yeah, you buy you use a razor and it uses like a number 2 bit on it.
Really?
Yeah, like the hair.
What? So he cuts what? So he shaves it?
Yeah, every day.
But not full.
Electric razor with a bit on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what? So you can shave it to within sort of an inch of its life, as it were.
Yeah.
Wish you would.
So that to me shows somebody who is incredibly narcissistic, and any man who takes that much care of his beard has got something wrong with him.
I don't trust.
I shave in the bath, right? And sometimes I miss things. In the shower, I sometimes miss bits. And then I try and catch up with it if I look in the mirror. What I don't do is go, I must make sure that I don't know if you noticed Michael Gove the other week was on TV, and he's got these sideboards now that come down to about here.
No.
Yeah, like white sideboards. Like they come, like
We call them sideburns.
like
I think sideboards is an American term.
Sideburns, yeah, all right.
Sideburns.
Yeah, well, he looks ridiculous, is all I can tell you. He looks like
That is so shocking.
He looks like that guy from the good old days. Remember that guy who used to have the things? They come down up to about here.
Mike, I agree.
There's something wrong with men with facial hair. Is all I know.
I know. I don't like facial hair. I have pogonophobia, which is a
fear of
dislike
beards.
of beards.
I have that. What do you call it?
Pogonophobia.
Pogonophobia.
I was
I've
once on the
definitely got
BBC talking about it, but
Yeah.
Pooch has a lovely beard. But can I just say, I know it's unfair, but I don't really trust men who are curating their eyebrows, getting manicures. There's something.
Are you a guy once who had his eyebrows threaded?
Oh my god!
And you go,
women do that.
Yeah, I know.
I know. That's very odd.
I know.
There's something, as you said,
Well,
there's something
Talk Sport.
narcissistic. There's something that their mind's really not on serious things like politics news. I don't know what they're.
What is he laughing at now?
I love that you.
What?
This is hard-hitting news. She played Darren Jones.
Yeah, what about Darren Jones? Yeah, let's go.
We've been talking about the cost of living this week. Chancellor's made an offer of free bus tickets for children, and then there's money off VAT in amusement parks. Well, look, I've taken a look at this. Children in London and Scotland already get free bus travel all the year round. I looked at the entry passes to Thorpe Park, Alton Towers, Legoland, Chessington. They all come in around about 32 quid if you book online, which means that the saving you're offering is £1.64 for the average family with 2 children. A family's got to pay 128 quid just to get into the park. Then they've got to pay travel and all the rest of it. Free travel on buses for some kids and £1.64 off a bill that most families will see as £250. It's not very impressive, is it? It's not going to make much difference.
Trevor, I wouldn't say that just because kids in London get free bus travel, we shouldn't worry about kids anywhere else in the country. I mean, it's right.
No, I'm just saying it's.
You've belittled it, and I'm just saying
it's all a bit of flag waving, isn't it? It's not really going to have an impact on anybody's.
We shouldn't just be
cost
thinking
of
about
living.
Kids here in London. There are kids across the country.
I know what you're trying to do, but the point is, I've put all the different things that you've put forward together.
I'll happily take them all in turn. But you've told me that bus fare is free for kids in London, so why bother doing it for everybody else? It's a ridiculous question.
Say that. You know I didn't say that.
There are many kids
I'm just saying it's not going to make much difference to most people.
It will make a big difference to kids outside of London who currently don't get free travel. We shouldn't be belittling that. This can make a big difference. There are many kids in my constituency who would never travel into the city centre in Bristol because they can't afford to do so. The fact that they can now get free travel is something that we should be celebrating and welcoming. And look, the announcements the Chancellor announced for the Great British Summer of Savings are small, helpful contributions to just help lift the pressure a bit for families during the summer months.
The pressure.
Off a bill of nearly £200.
Lift the pressure.
Trevor, I don't think you understand. There are many families who can't afford to take their kids out for a meal or to a theme park.
A family can't afford to take their kids out for a meal. I'm not going to spend £200 in a
because he's right.
Theme park.
He's saying you can't spend 200 quid.
You're trumpeting this, but it's really a tiny
it's not just
gesture.
It's not just theme parks, Trevor. You know that. It's a VAT cut on lots of different activities over the summer. When families, when they've got their kids at home out of school, want to try to do something to give them a bit of joy in the days when they're at home, I think we should be welcoming the fact that government is taking decisions to help with people's bills on those types of issues over the summer, which can often be a very stressful time for families when they can't afford to get the kids out of the house and to help them do something fun over the summer. But this is not just an isolated package. If you look at our childcare bills, support, that's £8,000 a year per child for families who have got young kids in nursery. If you look at the cut we've made to energy bills, if you look at the freezes on NHS prescriptions, bus fare cap at £3 for adults, this is part of a much wider package of actions from the government, which are trying to help with the cost of living.
You say it's part of a wider package, and in a sense, that's actually the point I'm making here. This is, in some ways, emblematic of what some people call Starmerism, that you have a big problem and you produce tiny solutions. Prime Minister's today writing to broadcasters, calling on them to make the Champions League final free to air, save some people a fiver off going.
See, it's just, I can't look at him. No. It's so annoying. It's so irritating. But Trevor Phillips is right. You know, there is no point. He's talking about, people can't afford to take their kids out. Yeah, because it's so expensive. £100 to go to Legoland or something. So you're going to get £2 off or £1.50 off.
It's far
What's
more
the point?
fundamental than that. And when he talks about the pressures that people are under, they're not even thinking Legoland or Chessington.
No.
They're thinking food bills, energy bills, the bills that are coming through the door.
Yeah, we've got half term coming up.
Day.
We have to feed the kids every day.
Every day.
They're not going to go to...
And how can I work when the kids are off?
Right.
It's far more fundamental than, when you go to a theme park. Well, most families are not able to go off to Legoland.
No.
They're not even able to...
I'll tell you who can afford to go to Legoland. The people on Universal Credit who can go there for £1. They can go to Tower of London for £1. But if you're trying to take your family of 2 kids and 2 adults, 4 of you, to the Tower of London, easily £100, if not more.
And then you've got food, travel into London, all of that.
Yeah, I was told, I think I haven't ever been to Legoland, thank God, because I could never stand Lego.
I can't take it.
I can't take Legoland. But it's about £35 per head, as far as I understand it, which includes the cost for the kids. So you're going to spend, if you're going with your son,
Mike, I'm taking my kiddo
your
this
day
week
out will
with
cost
hotels,
you,
with travel, the whole thing, the whole week will be, and that's probably only 2 or 3 days there, will be easily £500.
Easy.
I'm talking about hotels, somewhere to stay, getting there.
And you won't be eating in luxury, because you go to a pub now. I mean, the local pub down where I am in Sussex, you go, last time I went out with my 2 kids and their mother, it was £250.
Yeah.
Right? For dinner in a pub.
Well, that's a pub.
Yeah.
But if you're in Legoland and you need to eat, you're captive. You are going to be spending £15 on a child's meal. So the whole thing, Darren Jones is in Cloud Cuckoo Land.
He's in Cloud Cuckoo Land and he needs to get rid of that ridiculous beard. I think we've all agreed that there's nothing worse than somebody who's trying to grow a beard who can't. Pooch tells me the look of him suggests that he hasn't got enough testosterone to grow a proper beard.
I can barely see it. It looks like a teenage boy who's got a little bit of wispy on his face.
And he's trying to make out that, look at me, I shave now.
Yeah,
I'm 17, I shave now.
Yeah, look at my razor.
I've got a razor. Look, I've got this, I have to change the blade and everything. Yeah,
Lynx Africa and a razor.
They call it bum fluff. That's it, exactly right. That's what we used to call it in school.
Yeah.
We used to call it bum fluff in school. That's what he's got on his chin. Yeah. And you get these guys who thought that they were growing a beard, but it was soft. Yeah. And it wasn't really a proper beard.
I know. Well, that's why I was amazed when you said it was stubble. It's not designer stubble. It literally looks like a little wispy...
I don't wish to cast aspersions, obviously, on vegans, but he is a vegan.
Is he?
Apparently so. And his wife, by the way, runs a climate action... a charity or something like that. She's involved in climate change.
So, talking of greens, where do you sit on the Carla Denyer thing?
Well,
I got in trouble on X. I said,
because you defended her.
Do you know what?
Never defend MPs,
I know,
is
especially
the answer,
not a Green MP.
Right.
She's taken time out for burnout, and everybody got really angry. And I said, look, we don't know what is going on for other people. That's all I said. Don't ever know what's going on in other people's lives. Yeah. The stuff that you and I would push through and work through, I don't ever take. Mentality, it's not even the money. Yeah. It's a mentality. You don't let other people down. You don't go, I'm weak, I'm burnt out. Everybody's burnt out. Yeah. Anyway, I got done on it. Everybody was like...
So have you changed? I
think I have changed my mind. I do think she's a shirker.
I think the problem is that people look at her, right, and somebody's posted her expenses, which are very, very high. And apparently she employs 9 people.
Her salary nearly 100K.
She employs 9 people. Well, her salary will now be, I think, 110 because they got the recent pay rise, right? She claims at least probably $250,000 a year. Yeah. I know a lot of that goes on salaries to other people.
That's a big team.
But she's got a big team. She's got 9 people working for her, right? Yeah. So what exactly is she getting burned out from? She's a backbench MP, and people were very disparaging.
We don't know, but everybody was very angry.
Listen, I'm a bit like you in the sense that I'm not going to jump on her straight away because it might be that she's got some issue that we don't know about, and that would be unfortunate. And if she is not very well, or she's got some kind of disease,
crisis.
It's possible, or maybe she's got a family problem. So we're not going to have a go at her immediately. But I think to say it in the way that she said it didn't do herself any favours.
The interesting thing was the reaction. Everybody just saying, I would say 99% of the responses I got was saying, look, we work so hard. We are not on over £100,000. We don't have a team of 9 people around us. Yeah. We don't sit on the back bench and have a cushy, cosy lifestyle. We get up every day at 4 or 5 in the morning and drive our van, stack the shelves, whatever. Yeah. People feel angry.
Well, the bottom line is
she's not representing constituents.
No, and they have no sympathy for MPs period. You know, because people, I don't think we have ever had a worse relationship with our MPs than we have now. People just don't have any time for any of them, and they think they're all shysters and they're all on the take. I mean, look at, I did that thing last week with Jess Phillips. £1 million she's taken in, and I know that there are expenses that she will say, oh, these are people that I pay to be in my staff, but it's £1 million of taxpayers' money in 4 years. It's ridiculous. What the hell are they doing for that? But anyway, here's one for you. Rebecca Shepherd, you know who that is? She's the Restore candidate in Makerfield, and she's been giving interviews. There's been an awful lot of activity over the weekend with Restore. Apparently, there's a front page piece in the Telegraph where Elon Musk has backed Restore Britain, right? And again, showing he doesn't really understand the way the British political system works, right? But there's a big row now going on between Rupert Lowe, Nigel Farage, and the whole kind of Restore Britain scenario, right? But Rupert Lowe's been up there saying, we are going to win, we have got so much behind us. There's something weird going on with my social media is full of stuff coming from Restore Britain,
they're doing
which
a big
tells
push.
me that they're pushing it and they're paying to push it, because I'm not a member of Restore Britain and I don't know why my Facebook page is full of stuff from Restore Britain. But have a look at this and judge for yourself. Rebecca Shepherd, this is the woman that they think should represent the people of Makerfield in Westminster.
You told me the first thing that got you into all of this was the policy paper that you read. Do you remember which policy paper it was?
I don't now. It just popped up on Facebook. Good old Facebook. Yeah, it just popped up on there and I just was like, yes, this is what we need. This is what the British people need. And anyone who lives here, you know, we just need to put ourselves first for once, you know.
And I get there are other policy papers, so I know you probably wouldn't have had time whilst doing this election to read the energy paper the policy paper for energy. No. But there's now energy, big investment into small modular reactors, hopefully, and also the whole net zero thing. So, what do you think? Because obviously they're giving all of this money for all of these wind turbines and everything, pushing up the bills.
I mean, save that money. What are we doing that for? You know, I would say just save that money, distribute it elsewhere. And I've read the paper, but it's very in depth. So, and because I've been doing this, I've not been able to study it at all. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Not much needs to be said.
I mean, I wouldn't put that out.
I was going to say, that speaks for itself, but it really doesn't say anything.
No.
She reminds me of sort of Rebecca Vardy / Colleen Rooney running for office.
Yes. I can't do anything now because I'm doing this. Okay, then. I can't tell you about the policy.
I've read the report, but it's quite in-depth.
Yeah, it's quite in-depth. I can't tell you which policy paper I read. It was on Facebook. Right. Listen, it's not for me to be disparaging about local MPs, but it just seems to me that is not somebody that you would vote for.
But the interesting thing about this poll, just to go back to that, is that Makerfield apparently seems to show Burnham. What was it? The latest? I think it was. What was the latest polling? I can't remember. It doesn't really matter.
It's got Burnham on 43.
It was 43,
it's got Reform
40,
on 40.
But then it had Restore was on about 7.
Yeah.
So the claim is, look, Restore, you need to back out. You're going to stop. You're going to get Burnham into number 10.
Yeah.
And that's the key.
And
Does
he have
a right to stand anyway or not?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I did it again. The piece that I did yesterday, I would not tell people to stand down. No. I wouldn't say don't vote for these people. You know, however, if Burnham does get in, the argument from Rupert Lowe's people is it doesn't matter who gets in because they're all the same.
Yeah.
And whether it's Starmer or Burnham or Rayner or Streeting, it's just terrible. And what we need is a general election. I don't know if that's true. I think it needs to be the case that Burnham doesn't win. I think it'd be better if Reform won. Yeah. And I don't think Restore have got a chance of winning it.
But they are taking away those few percent.
Rupert Lowe says he thinks they can win the whole thing. And I guess we'll see over the course of the next couple of weeks. I'll be interested to see what people think about it. But at the end of the day, I don't think that woman is likely to encourage people to vote for Restore Britain because she doesn't come across very well. You know, Rupert Lowe, whether you like him or not, is a very capable individual.
Yeah,
he sounds like he knows what he's talking about. You know, he goes on a bit, but at least he's knowledgeable about things. He's done things. Yeah. She doesn't look as if she's done anything.
No, and I'm with you. I kind of think, and I almost feel it's a bit disrespectful when people start saying we won't stand the candidate. You know, people want to do tactical, but democracy should be democracy. We should have a choice. Yeah. I don't want the Tories to stand down, even though, splitting the vote and all of that. I just think that they need to offer people that choice.
Do you know
people
what's funny though?
Vote tactically.
Yeah, what's funny up in Makerfield is that you never hear the Tories being mentioned at all.
But I mean, they are still putting someone forward.
They are.
Because they believe in democracy. They have got a candidate.
The Greens, unfortunately, had to withdraw their candidate on the basis that he was an anti-Semite.
Yes.
And they may be finding somebody else, I don't know.
What I think is on the doorstep with Restore allegedly doing so well, I think there's a lot of confusion. I think people are thinking, oh yeah, Restore, Reform, oh yeah, them.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that Restore vote may be that they're saying
Could
they
be.
vote for Reform.
Yeah.
I don't believe 7%.
I mean, I would be more sceptical of Restore if they hadn't won all the seats in Great Yarmouth, which they did.
They
so,
did.
you know, they did actually do quite well in Great Yarmouth. And I know that they stood...
Well, that's their local patch.
It's their local patch, and they stood under a different banner.
Yeah.
They stood under the banner of, you know, Great Yarmouth first. So people might have been confused, I don't know. But it's going to be a fascinating thing to watch, that's for sure. Andy Burnham, meanwhile, was exposed at the weekend as being several things, including a complete and utter charlatan, right? Because he's been going on about how, and this only occurred to me the other day, that he moved his family into the area, where apparently some people have pointed out that he actually lives a bit further down the road. And maybe, just maybe, he moved his family into that area because he thought at some point this constituency will be made available, and I can say, oh, look, I moved my family into the area.
Yeah.
He's also said that he grew up in poverty, and it turns out he didn't do that either. His parents are now living in a house which he grew up in, which is worth 1.3 million. Again, nothing personal against him, but why do they have to pretend something that isn't true?
It also emerged that he bought a flat just in this actual local area in central London, quite an expensive area, right by Parliament, right by Westminster in Kennington, for just above 200,000, which is now worth nearly £1 million.
Yeah.
And guess who was paying the mortgage on that one? The taxpayers. That was another second home thing.
Yes.
He didn't need that. He wasn't living there.
And that was one of the things that so many MPs took advantage of, and which really upset ordinary taxpayers, because
when they can't afford to buy a first home,
you can't get your own,
live in.
You can't get your own mortgage. You can't get a bank to lend you any money, but you're basically paying for an MP's mortgage so that they can make a load of money.
Absolutely shocking.
It is shocking, absolutely staggering. We've got a poll, I think, which is based loosely around my shirt. With regards to Mike's shirt, should he, 1, hula dance in a lava field, surf a 15-foot wave, climb a volcano, or smoke some Maui Wowie? Why is climb a volcano black?
I don't know.
Is it because of the ash? Is it because it's been burned? It's like the new weather map, isn't it?
Weather maps.
As soon as you mention the word volcano,
alarmism.
Yeah, alarmism. It goes black. Have you noticed that it's now black as opposed to just
a weather map that used to have an orange kind of, what do they call them? The heat map. You know, the heat map of Britain.
Yeah.
It's now blood red, and then it goes to black and ash colours, and everything's burning up just because it's very, very hot.
Well, I was down in Sussex on Friday afternoon, and it was very warm, and I had a lovely car ride down with the sunroof open and all that. And as soon as I got there, I saw wildfire alerts for London. I mean, do me a favour. We're not living in the middle of Arizona or, you know, California, Malibu. Or Australia. You know, there's not going to be any wildfires. We found out the last time we had a really, really hot period, I think a couple of years ago, there were a couple of really small fires in a field. It was because somebody lit them. You know, it's always arsonists that start the fires. It's never something to do with, you know, suddenly it's so hot that everything spontaneously combusts.
Things just don't.
No.
You know, go fry an egg on your pavement thing, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're more likely to have, you know, some local kids setting fire to something in the street than you are to have some kind of spontaneous combustion event.
Exactly. And this is, I mean, yes, it's hot for Britain because we're not ever prepared for any sort of weather which is anything other than dull and grey. But at the end of the day, there are parts of the world where it's a lot hotter.
Yeah.
I bet you the trains won't be working because there'll be the wrong kind of heat.
And the tracks
will
have
melted.
Yeah.
And the
hysteria
points
about
won't work.
Water. You know, carry some water with you, especially on a delayed train. Yeah. But I mean, you know, you're not going to die. You're probably within a few feet of a corner shop where there is a bottle of water or a tap where there is also water.
I know.
We are very lucky. This is what I say to the school when they send these panicky text messages about send your child in wearing a hazmat suit and full factor 50 sunscreen and bottles and bottles and bottles of water.
When my kids were at school, make sure they bring sunscreen in with them.
Sunscreen.
Why?
Head protection, bottles of water. And I say to them, you know, there are taps as well. Yeah. There are water fountains. Calm down.
Absolutely ridiculous. A couple of super chats, let's do them. One from Cindy Smith. Mike, I love your new look, very fresh. Thank you very much. This is a one-time only. You're not going to see this tomorrow. I'll be back to the usual shirt and tie. MLB, peace. Thank you very much indeed. Super chat. So how about this for a story, right? On the front page of the Daily Telegraph, and it's slightly early in the morning for this kind of talk. However, I'm going to ask you the question because apparently it's a typically British sort of story, this. Apparently, according to the Office for National Statistics, there were more children born in 2024 after the May bank holiday because it was very hot. They're suggesting that bank holidays, which they are rather curiously naming as bonk holidays, it turns out more people have more sex on bank holidays, particularly when it's hot. I don't know why.
I think that's surprising.
Yeah.
I think when you're hot and sticky, you want to stay away from intimate contact.
Absolutely.
It's when it's cold and you want to cuddle up that you're more likely to get cosy.
Well, that's why more children generally are born in the summer, isn't it?
Because of Christmas and winter. And,
exactly, yeah. So this says that basically the latest data for 2024 shows that most babies born a single day that year were conceived 9 months after the second May bank holiday.
I mean, maybe people were off, so they had more time.
Maybe they were. This reflects the broader trend across the year, with 7 of the top 10 most common birthdays in 2024 falling in September, 9 months after Christmas. So there you go. That's
Exactly. September is a busy
So there we are. Anyway, so that's it. The first half an hour of the show. Well, I'm 73. When I was young, nobody drank water all day. Well, I often tell the story of the first time, and this was, I remember it very clearly. It was
time you drank water.
Not the first time I drank water, no. The first
He's
time.
not that old.
Well, we used to have a water fountain in my school.
Yeah,
we now
did.
you wouldn't be allowed.
With Ebola.
Yeah, now you'd be going, oh no, you might get cholera. Better not do that. No, but I remember first time ever walking down. I think it was Hudson Street. I'm pretty sure it was Hudson Street in Manhattan, about 1985, and I saw this model. Beautiful looking woman walking towards me carrying a bottle of Evian water.
Wow.
And I went, that's a bit weird.
Yeah.
Why are you carrying that? And I've never seen that before. And then suddenly everyone was carrying bottles of Evian water around. And I went, this has got to be the greatest scam of all time.
And
somebody has decided to bottle water, which is free, in a tap.
And sell it.
And sell it for $1.
And then tell us not to fill the landfill with plastic. You're all carrying bottles of water. And now you see people, small people, lugging
the thing,
like
the huge
a water
one, right?
container along the street because they're so panicky.
Do you know what
the
I think
women
I should
coming
do?
in and out of gyms.
Should we buy one, Pitch, like one of these, right?
Yeah.
Just take it on the underground. just go here. Just sit there, take out a plastic cup and just pour it. Because they do.
They do.
Have you seen the size of these things?
Bigger than a water cooling fountain plastic tub.
It's literally like bigger than them.
It's so funny.
Do a video of that during the week.
I will.
What, of me on the tube?
We'll go on the tube.
Go on, do it.
We'll take a massive bucket.
I think that'd be brilliant. That'd be great. Listen.
Quick chat there.
Go on. Pooch, why is Mike dressed like a cruise ship entertainer? Well, I'm hoping somebody might offer me a job as a cruise ship entertainer. People used to do that. I used to know people that went on the QE2 and they'd get free passage to America or back on the grounds that they would do some lecture, right?
People still do that. There are loads of my friends who are writers who go on the Times Festival on Carnival Cruise Lines.
Oh, God.
And they do a lecture every evening. Can you imagine Doug Deadly Dull? Oh. They do a lecture every evening and they get a freebie.
I can't stand the idea of it. I just don't.
Mike does have to freelance. After this job, he goes and sells Hawaiian flags and leis on the
tropic.
street.
Yeah. Listen, you've got to make a living somehow, and listen, it's been great. Thank you very much indeed. I was gonna do a poll whether I should keep the Hawaiian shirt on, which is not to say I'm going to do the rest of the show without a shirt on. I mean, I've got other shirts here. If anybody's offended by this. I just thought we might as well have a little bit of a holiday kind of spirit thing going on,
Absolutely.
Because it's nice bank holiday. And also it's going to be bleeding hot when I walk out of here later. So I just thought there's no point in me being really,
Just don't wear Speedos tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to. No, tomorrow back to normal. I've got to go to the gym later though. I'm a bit worried about going on the tube because it's going to be really hot. So I made to take the jug with me. But anyway, Emma, great to see you. Thank you so much. Enjoy Legoland.
No comment.
I'm not jealous.
Just get me through this week.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this is the thing.
But I'm going to save £1.31 apparently.
Yeah, great. What are you going to do with it, do you think? What are you
buy
going to buy?
A bottle of water.
Buy a bottle of water. There you go. Well, thank you very much indeed. We will be here, of course, for the duration until 10 o'clock. We've got loads to talk, loads of people to talk to. Anne Widdicombe's going to be here. We're going to talk to Lee Harris in a moment. We've got news with Edward Hughes to do. Keep your super chats coming as well. Also, do please like and subscribe the channel. We've hit 164,000 subscribers. We're very happy about that, but we want to try and push it up to 200,000 sooner rather than later. We're about to break through 23 million views as well. So it's all going terribly well, and we're very happy about it. Also, I think at some point, Pooch, we've got some news on the live show, haven't we?
Yes.
That we've got a video or a film of the live show that you can look at some point soon. We'll let you know about that as well. Philip Ingram joining us. Mark Littlewood's going to be here. Donna McLeod's going to join us as well. We'll see you after the news with Edward Hughes.
Good morning all, I'm Edward Hughes. Wow, what a weekend. It was glorious. Edwina and I hit the beach. We're absolutely roasting in the hottest May on record. 34 degrees Celsius of glorious climate victory. Perfect for melting on the M25 while pretending it's not global weirding. Keir Starmer's appalled, his favourite word, that boys who raped girls got community service instead of jail. Because nothing says justice like a strongly worded statement and a quick review. Dover's in gridlock from New EU checks that France has now kindly paused, and the usual political circus continues, with reform making promises, and everyone's sweating through it. Stay hydrated, folks. Or don't. What difference does it make? Please subscribe if you haven't done so. K. Later's Tigers.
Thank you very much indeed. Edward Hughes there. Slip of the tongue, I think. Or was it?
Yes.
He says he was with Fiona and then he corrects himself to say he was with Mrs. Hughes.
Yeah.
By the way, Edward Hughes, never mind him, Hugh Edwards was in the news at the weekend because the Sunday Times did a story saying that he wants to have conversations with Channel 4. They're already going on apparently. That they are going to do some kind of documentary on him, right, where he gets to tell his side of the story. I'm sorry, Edward, I'm going to call him Hugh Edwards. We don't want to hear your side of the story. We've already seen your backside.
Put it away.
Right? Just keep it to yourself. Put it away. Do not get it out again. No. We're not interested. You know, one of the things we know is that the cache of pictures that he had on his computer or on his phone included pictures of children, right? In sexual situations. Children, aged 5 and 7. I don't want to hear his side of the story. I'd rather he was in jail, to be honest. I really don't want to see him on Channel 4. It shows you what ridiculous people they are who run television stations these days, don't they? Pooch, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, last week, I don't know if you heard, Robert Peston and his crappy show that goes out on a Wednesday night on ITV, they decided to launch themselves on YouTube. Do you know how many views they got?
No.
7,000.
No.
7,000. Imagine how much that cost, right? Absolutely embarrassing, ridiculous. So on the poll, I've got first results in. A lot of people want me to smoke some Maui Wowie, which would be probably legal. I don't know if it's legal in Hawaii, it's certainly legal in California. Climb a volcano, 4%. Surf a 15-foot wave, 37%. Hula dance in a lava field, 17%. Smoke some Maui Wowie, 43%. Well, we're not going to be doing that on the show, obviously. I'm not even sure you can get Maui Wowie anymore. It's a bit of a throwback. That's disgusting. Hugh Edwards shouldn't be allowed airtime again, says Capricorn Moon. Exactly right. Yeah. We don't want to see the guy. I mean, I want him to give his money back to the BBC that he took under false pretences. I want to see him giving his pension up and them taking it off him. And I would like to see him doing some jail time, frankly. Yeah. What I don't want is to see a Channel 4 documentary with Hugh Edwards telling his side of the story as to why he had child porn on his phone, right? Or why he was sending pictures of his backside to a teenager while he was reading the news. We don't really want to know that, do we? Let's talk to Lee Harris, see what he's got to say for himself. Lee, very good morning to you, sir.
Morning, Mike.
Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. We'll start with Hugh Edwards. I mean, what sort of a man would even think about putting out his side of the story? I mean, surely he should spend the rest of his life in absolute and utter shame, shouldn't he?
I was nodding along in agreement with you, especially when you said he should be in jail. Yeah. I could not believe that he walked free. And you know, by the way, just to add a little more annoyance to this lovely Bank Holiday Monday, is, do you know, Keir Starmer is partly responsible for the fact that he's not in prison. He sat on a committee years ago, and was one of the people who voted. It's while he was in the CPS, but he sat on the committee that voted that paedophiles should not go to jail. Basically, there'll be situations like this, I imagine, with Hugh Edwards, where they can walk free. So we can all thank Keir Starmer for the fact. I mean, I was repulsed by it, Mike. The fact when the story, we got sort of more details about the story, it didn't get any better for Hugh Edwards. It got worse. Yeah. And then when I heard they were making this documentary about him, I thought to myself, this is just too soon. I don't want to know anything about Hugh Edwards. He needs to be vanishing off of our screens completely in absolute disgrace. He's lucky he didn't get any prison time. And the absolute last thing we should be talking about is reviving his career. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous. What is it with the establishment, Mike, and paedophiles?
Well, you do wonder, don't you? Because somewhere in all of that conversation, there must be some executive at Channel 4 who's gone, do you know what would be a really good idea? Let's get Hugh Edwards' side of the story. Well, how is it a good idea? It's not a good idea. I'm not interested in his side of the story. He's a paedophile. He's a criminal. He should be behind bars. The end.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Mate, they're just desperate. They're desperately looking for something that will get ratings. I just think that these people who work in these studios completely misread the public. I haven't spoken to anyone that's gone, oh yeah, do you fancy watching that documentary with Hugh Edwards? Really interesting guy. No, everyone is absolutely repulsed by him. Stop force feeding this guy down our throats. Get him off our TV, and like you say, ideally put the guy in jail.
Yeah, absolutely right. Let's talk a little bit about another case that's been very, very much in the news over the weekend, and that's the judge's decision not to jail a pair of teenage boys who were found guilty of raping two girls, filming it and passing the footage around on social media. Starmer, uncharacteristically, has apparently decided that there should be some kind of judicial review into the case, because the judge in the case, and this tells you all the things that are wrong with our judicial system, basically said to the kids, oh, I don't want to criminalise you for raping these young women, therefore I'm not going to give you any jail time. I mean, beggars belief, doesn't it? Right.
That society is breaking down when we see stuff like this. I find it thoroughly depressing.
Yeah, no, it is really awful. And of course, the other story, which Starmer doesn't seem to have got himself exercised about whatsoever, is the murder of the young English boy, Henry Nowak, who was killed in what can only be described as a racist attack, but that Keir Starmer has said nothing about, because the police treated him as if he was, in fact, the perpetrator rather than the victim, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely appalling. Keir Starmer has not mentioned his name once. But when it was George Floyd, a career criminal from thousands of in Parliament, he even mentioned adolescents more than Henry Nowak. I mean, it's just absolutely appalling that. I would say it's because he's white, Mike. And for those who don't know the story, I'm sure you probably do by now. It's absolutely horrific. He died in the worst possible way, probably thinking that now the police had arrived, that at least he may well be safe. I dread to think what was going through his mind at that particular stage. But what makes all of this worse, the fact that he was stabbed in the first place by a Sikh man who was carrying a ceremonial knife. There's a whole conversation to be had about that. When the police arrived, the attacker accused him of racism. There was a spurious claim of racism against the victim, who was currently on the floor after being stabbed. The police then decided to arrest the victim, arrest Henry, who was dying. And sadly, he died there and then on the street. I mean, it's utterly horrific. It's like the police are, more scared of being called racist than they are worried about saving a boy's life. I mean, this is literally the extreme consequences of political correctness. It's all I've been thinking about since it happened, Mike. It's probably one of the, we've had murders, they are all absolutely horrific. This one, because of the circumstances, it's just appalling. It's all I've thought. And the fact that Keir Starmer has not mentioned it, the fact that he's not immediately said something in Parliament or done a statement, whereas he was quite happy to do that with someone like George Floyd. Just tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, it really does. Let's talk a bit about Andy Burnham. A couple of stories have come up over the weekend, including, by the way, that he's apparently hired Sue Gray. Remember her? She was the woman who obviously discovered that Boris Johnson had broken the law while she was in Downing Street. She then goes to become chief of staff for Keir Starmer. She then becomes the sort of the mastermind, apparently, behind the first 100 days of his premiership. She then only lasts 93 days and gets kicked up to the House of Lords. She's apparently now advising Andy Burnham on how to win the by-election up in Makerfield, for heaven's sake.
Dear God, it's just because there's sheer lack of talent in the Labour Party, isn't it?
It really is.
I just can't. It's like bringing back Gordon Brown. I mean, it's utterly ludicrous. There is.
Yeah.
It is sheer desperation time in the Labour Party at the moment. And as we said before, it doesn't matter at this stage who you put in charge of the Labour Party. You could put the Messiah himself in charge, and it would still make absolutely no difference to the outcome, the political destruction that they are heading towards. Andy Burnham can probably bring them to the next election, I guess. I've seen some polling that shows that Andy Burnham would do better than Keir Starmer. Problem is, Mike, is I'm not actually convinced he's going to win that by-election.
No.
Everything seems to be running against Andy Burnham at the moment anyway.
No, I mean, I'm not sure that the polls are correct. There's all kinds of strange things going on up there. You know, the idea that he is the local candidate, when in fact he's clearly not the local candidate. He's from Merseyside. He was born in Aintree. He moved his family there a couple of years ago. You know, maybe with the very idea that at some point or other he would stand as the candidate and say, "Oh, I love it here so much, I moved my family here." You know, he's made out that he came from a poor background. He didn't. It turns out his parents actually live in a house that's now worth 1.3 million, and that's where he grew up. There's a story in the Sun today saying that he's taken 17,000 quid's worth of freebies ever since he's been mayor of Manchester, and that doesn't count the number of free trips he's taken to various parts of the world, including New York. You know, the guy is clearly sort of living a lie. I don't know if you saw this. He put out his playlist, right, for the by-election. You know, showing that he's, you know, really, really trendy. There's an Oasis song in there. There's some New Order, there's some Doves. He's got a Christy Moore song, which is celebrating the internationalists fighting Franco. I mean, as somebody said, it's more like a sort of Islington, North London dinner party playlist by some champagne socialist than it is anybody who's actually authentically Mancunian, you know?
It's ridiculously choreographed, isn't it? Just like that jog that we saw, which was obviously just completely spontaneous, Mike. No doubt that he's there this morning running up and down after a quick conversation with Sky News.
Yeah,
the people of Makersfield are not stupid. They genuinely can see what is going on. They're very smart people up there because they all voted to leave the European Union for a start, Mike. So decent, you know, people with their heads screwed on, clearly. They can see what's happening. And of course, with the press as well, covering this very closely, it's going to be a very consequential by-election. Everybody knows that Andy Burnham is just being helicoptered in. He doesn't give a monkey's about the area. He couldn't care less about the people that live there. This is all about Andy Burnham. It's all about him becoming leader and prime minister of this country, which, by the way, I don't know, if it was me being an Andy Burnham shoe, I'd feel a little bit, you know, this is more of a coronation than anything else. That he's not going to have to go through a general election. No. Clearly, they are. If Andy Burnham does win this seat, let's just talk hypothetically. Let's just say he does win this seat. It will be a coronation. He's not going to call a general election, because if he calls a general election, Labour will be absolutely battered.
Right.
In fact, they'll be so battered they'll end up a debating club, not a political party by the end of it.
There is a theory, though, which is obviously taking hold inside of Labour because they're so deluded. I mean, I did a piece yesterday saying these are the most deluded politicians of all time. You know, they think that they can tell us waiting lists at the NHS are going down when everybody knows they're not going down. They're just removing people's names from them. Thereby they go, oh, look, we've suddenly cut 1 million people from the waiting list. Yeah. Either because they've all died off or because you've just removed their names. I get people every single day telling me that they've had their appointment changed or, you know, cancelled, and that's why they've disappeared. You know, they're telling us, you know, amazingly that we're, you know, war ready. I read a piece at the weekend that said that if there was a war, we've only got enough drones for about a week. and by the time we fired them all, that would be the end of that. So, you know...
I don't know why I'm laughing. That's bloody awful.
I know. And you know, again, we're going to, you know, we're stopping all these asylum claims. We're dealing with more asylum claims than ever. Yeah, because they're granting them all asylum. And meanwhile, 700 people came into the country over the last 2 days because it's rather nice weather. There'll be another 700 today and probably another 700 tomorrow. So that'll mean that there's been about 3,000 more people coming in than there were, you know, just last week. So, you know, the idea that, but they've got this idea that if they catch reform on the hop, this is their theory, that the longer they stay in, the less chance they've got of winning, right? If they go for a snap election, if Burnham gets in, they think that reform won't be ready, and therefore they might be able to sweep up more, you know, seats than they otherwise would do. But of course, nobody knows if that's the case.
That's actually a fair point. If they did call an election as, you know, sooner rather than later, I mean, literally the week that Andy Burnham, let's just say, you know, when's the by-election? I think it's June, isn't it? It's
June the 18th,
next month.
Yeah.
Yeah, June the 18th. So let's just say they do that. They call an election after a month. That will put reform in a very tricky position, I guess. I can't see them doing it, but if they did do it, I mean, Farage would have to just batten down the hatches, wouldn't he, and just throw out absolutely everything at it, find as many candidates as possible. He's going to need a couple of hundred. I don't know. I think reform could probably pull it off. I think the country is in such a terrible state right now that nobody, and by the way, sorry, absolutely despises the Labour Party. I mean, I don't know about you, Mike, but I genuinely do speak to people on both sides about it.
Yeah.
One of my closest contacts is she will always vote Labour. So, but she has done her whole life, but she's certainly not staunch Labour anymore. I haven't spoken to a single person that says that they say anything nice about Keir Starmer or the competency of this Labour Party. And like you just pointed out, a lot of their kind of flagship statistics that they throw at you to show you that they sort of maybe have made some progress. Yeah. It's all nonsense. If you strip the figures apart, what was that latest one about? You know, migrants crossing, this one in, one out nonsense. That was another one they were touting. It's just turned into, it's like 10,000 in, 4 out. I mean, every single statistic is just a joke.
It's complete rubbish. Absolute nuts of rubbish. Let's have a quick look at Robert Jenrick. He was talking at the weekend about reducing income tax that people would pay, particularly if they're doing extra work, if they're doing overtime. I think this is something that's resonating with a few people as well, because I've heard people quite warming to this. Have a look.
Talk about what you're announcing today. Reforms promising that if elected, nearly everybody who did overtime would not pay tax on it. Now, it sounds like a very grabby idea. Perhaps there's a by-election on. But similar things have been tried in France. Donald Trump's trying a similar thing in the United States. And when you look at the evidence of what's happened there, all sorts of things have happened. Some companies have just paid people less because they can make it up in overtime. And some well-paid workers seem to be trying to game the system so that they get loads more for overtime. How do you guarantee that doesn't happen?
Well, first things first. At Reform, we're for workers, and we're always going to put their priorities first. We want to ensure that if you're working hard, you're going above and beyond, you're taking on those extra hours because maybe you're saving up for a deposit, you're trying to buy a new car, maybe you're just trying to buy Christmas presents for your kids ahead of the holidays, that if you take on those extra hours, you should never pay income tax, 0. Call it a hard work bonus. This is a big change. It's going to increase the earnings of millions of people across the country. Of course, we're going to put in place anti-gaming measures to make sure that people can't abuse this. But this will have a real impact on people all over the country. Let me give you an example. Say you're working in the Heinz factory in Wigan. You're deciding to ask your boss to do an hour and a half after work every night, 7 hours a week extra. You will take home £1,000 extra a year as a result of this. If you're a newly qualified nurse in a hospital, an extra hour a night,
but it's very hard.
£1,300 extra a year.
But whenever there's a potential tax change, it's very hard to work out actually what the exact effects would be in the economy. What is also important to know, though, is you've put an estimate of £5 billion that would be a loss to the Treasury so people can keep more. But how would you find that money? Because the party's not spelled out exactly where it would come from.
We have. We've said that it will come from the more than £40 billion of savings that we've already found, not paying foreign aid to rich countries, not giving benefits to migrants, and getting people off welfare.
Found that.
Well, but we haven't allocated them in entirety yet. So this will come from those. And the last point is very important. It's also coming from getting people off welfare into the workplace, because reform is about workers. We're not for benefit street. This is a fundamental question of fairness. The current Labour government is doing nothing to tackle this issue. What we would do is serious welfare reforms so that those who are choosing not to work are made to get back into the workplace.
Yes, the BBC absolutely chock full of reasons why giving people money back in some ways is somehow evil. You know, terrible, nasty idea that. You know, why? Surely you should take the money off people and give it to the people who don't have any money. That's what you should do. You know, because that's what we like to do. It's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? The BBC. I don't know where they get off on these questions that they ask.
They don't seem to realise as well that if you stimulate, you know, if you can stimulate the economy in that way, if you can put more money in people's pockets, it's going to be more money for the tax revenue. You know, just like the Labour Party, the BBC just don't seem to understand the Laffer curve. I think this is fantastic. It's absolutely needed. I run a small business. One of the biggest complaints that I have listening to other business owners that I speak to is the cost to employ people. National insurance is absolutely squeezing the hell out of sort of medium businesses, small and medium businesses. We've got some of the lowest rates of employment in history. So this is genuinely a very good idea. And it's nice to see actually a political party, I appreciate it's a bit easier for reform, that has the bandwidth to think about a policy like this that can be beneficial to business and certainly put more money in the pockets of people who do overtime, that's for sure. We've got a Labour Party at the moment that is completely and utter stagnant. They can't do anything. Their bandwidth is all completely taken up on leadership elections. They're not doing any policy making, and like I say, the policies that they do have, they're laughable. When you're wheeling someone like Darren Jones out, you know, to describe. I mean, you know, you're gonna fail anyway. This is a guy that thinks that the small boat's genuinely just full of women and children. So it is nice to hear this. This is a genuinely welcome policy. I hope we hear more of this sort of thing. The UK is in a terrible state. So whoever takes over at the next election has got a massive, massive hill to climb. But this is the kind of mindset that we need. We need something that's going to be focusing on stimulating the economy, bringing down taxes for people and for businesses, because that's why Labour are never going to reverse anything, because they're ideologically against lowering taxes and stimulating the economy that way. They're high tax, high spend. That I bet, Mike, they don't even understand why they can't grow the economy. It makes me laugh that they're saying that we've got one of the fastest growing economies in the G7 just because we're 0.01% higher than Germany or something ridiculous. I mean, you genuinely couldn't make it up.
I mean, this is the trouble. Again, it's all part of the self-delusion that they seem to be practicing on a daily basis. They keep telling themselves that everything's going well, better than they said that it would, and so they think that everybody else can see it. Well, nobody can see it because it isn't going well. People are poorer, people are unhappy, people hate them with a passion. They really do. But Lee, this is great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Have a great bank holiday weekend. I know it's going to be a hot one. Lee Harris there talking us through why it is that so far this government just doesn't seem to get it. Still, there's a piece on the front page of the I newspaper this morning, which is going to bring even more bad news Starmer's way. Tranche of messages will reveal how ministers sucked up to disgraced peer Lord Mandelson, exchanging cosy texts that are likely to humiliate the government. What, humiliate them more than that already? Second wave of Mandelson files into Pear's controversial appointment as US ambassador due to be published next week, putting pressure on Keir Starmer. All right, this is the tranche of documents that they put off, if you remember, until after the local elections because they thought it might have a bad effect on their results. Well, it couldn't have been any worse, could it? They say this: the Prime Minister has been facing questions after Mandelson's security vetting was rushed through despite warnings over his relationship with billionaire paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Insiders say the messages will prove embarrassing rather than bring down the government as allies cast doubt on whether Starmer will fight leadership challenge. Well, this is the thing. I mean, Keir Starmer said last week, I presume much to Andy Burnham's chagrin, that he's going to actually go up and campaign on his behalf. Why isn't Mandelson arrested yet, says Capricorn Moon? Yeah, good question. Starmer apparently is going to go and campaign for Andy Burnham, who wants to be Prime Minister. So Starmer is now so deluded that he thinks it's a good idea to campaign for the guy that wants his job. He can only be thinking one thing. If I go up there, that will completely scupper it, completely ruin it, because I'm so unpopular. Darren Jones yesterday was on television talking in various different studios about how he's going to go up and he's going to start campaigning for Andy Burnham. All the time knowing that if Andy Burnham wins, he's going to try and become the next Prime Minister. It's very weird, isn't it? It's just very strange. Let's talk to Jessalyn Kane on the by-election and what's going on up there. She's a Conservative writer and pundit. Jessalyn, very good morning to you. Welcome to the Mike Graham Show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Good to see you. It's all very odd, this business in Makerfield, isn't it? You know, you've got people who know that Andy Burnham wants to be Keir Starmer saying we're going to go up and campaign for him, even though we support Keir Starmer and we don't think that Keir Starmer should be moved.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, isn't it?
Utterly ridiculous. There's no reason why Sir Keir Starmer even has a hope in hell going up there. I honestly think he's doing it to try and stop Andy Burnham from getting into number 10 because, as you say, he is just so deeply unpopular.
Yeah.
But I doubt that's going to scupper his chances, really. It's Reform that are the ones that will stop Andy Burnham in his tracks.
Right. And there's a lot of noise around the whole Reform Restore debate today as well. There's a piece on the front page of The Telegraph in which it says that, Nigel Farage is annoyed that Elon Musk has kind of endorsed Rupert Lowe and Restore, saying that he's going to split the right. Obviously, there's quite a lot of arguments going on now between Restore and Reform. I don't think they're going to agree to disagree nicely, though, are they?
To be honest, I don't blame Nigel Farage. We need to be uniting the right to keep people like Andy Burnham out of number 10. If Andy Burnham wins Makerfield's seat, it's more than likely he's going to go and usurp Sir Keir Starmer and become Prime Minister of this country, which I think will just be terrible. He's already said in previous times that he wants to join the EU again, and he's U-turned on that. He's U-turned on many things, such as trans rights, because he's trying to make himself way more electable to the Makerfield electorate. But really, what we should be doing is supporting Reform. Restore, they were predicted to have 7% of the vote.
Yeah.
I think I saw on the Telegraph yesterday. They are potentially going to be ruining the chances of Reform getting in and stopping Andy Burnham from getting the keys to number 10. I think it's ludicrous.
Yeah, because a lot of people say, well, listen, it doesn't really matter whether you have Andy Burnham in charge or Keir Starmer in charge or Andy Burnham. I think it does matter, because I think Burnham would be a lot more left-wing than Starmer, and I think he would be a lot worse, actually. Let's have a look at what he did. He's full of stunts as well. He was out and about yesterday and apparently ran into his old PE teacher by coincidence. Amazing. Have a look at this.
Legendary PE teacher for like generations of people. But what did he tell me when I was young? You're too soft.
Play rugby league. I've known Andy for a long time because I taught him. I was his PE teacher back in the day. You know, he's trying to close that south-north divide. He's doing a great job, has done a great job, is doing a great job for Greater Manchester, and he'll do exactly the same for Ashley, Makerfield and the Wigan area.
Steve, this is the Mayor of Liverpool here.
Yes, indeed.
I was a good boy, though.
They all say that.
Legendary PE teacher for like generations of people. But what did he tell me when I was young? You're too soft.
Play rugby league.
You were just the epitome of the best.
Yeah.
I mean, that's embarrassing, isn't it? Isn't that embarrassing?
That is just awful. Well, not as embarrassing as his running stunt the other day. Yeah. It's just something to get the voters to like him more, but I just think it's making him look too much like a tryhard, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the idea that he's got a 43% backing in the polls, I'm not sure that's right. I think the polls are somehow getting that wrong, because I don't think they're realising that there are people in Manchester who don't think Andy Burnham has in any way, shape or form done a decent job. You know, he's run the city into loads and loads of debts. He spent £200 million putting together a ULEZ, ultra low emission zone, which then didn't take off because the people revolted against it. He spent 100 million quid making it possible to travel on a bus for no more than £2, which has also been given to the taxpayers to pay. I just don't think he's as popular as they're making him out to be.
No, I don't think he is either. And also, I think he forgets that taxpayer money is going to be spent on the mayoral election after he wins the seat, if he wins the seat.
Right.
And that's going to be a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he's just sort of brushing that aside because he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the people of Manchester. He just wants to get into number 10. You know, he's U-turning on everything that he's previously said in the past because he doesn't care about the people who live in Makerfield. He just wants those shiny gold keys to number 10. He wants to be the Prime Minister of this country. He wants to take us more left wing. He wants to rejoin the EU. He wants to renationalise all these industries. And I just think we cannot let that happen. I think Sir Keir Starmer is a much preferable option to Andy Burnham, and we need to be uniting behind a Reform candidate to stop him. And I say that as a Tory member.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. Jesseline Kane, thank you very much indeed for talking to us. More from Jesseline coming up in the coming weeks. We'll be talking to a whole bunch of people today. Mark Littlewood's here, Anne Widdecombe as well, Philip Ingram, Donald McLeod, Sunil Sharma. We'll get his view on what's going on up in Makerfield as well. But what a shambolic situation we've got. Because this government now is basically pretending that all of the bad stuff that happened didn't happen. You know, Starmer's carrying on with his job as if he's still somebody that we want in charge in Downing Street, right? He's sitting there down in Chequers probably today, wondering what on earth to do. Because the guy is a busted flush. He can't really get anything done. Nobody likes him. His own party wants to get rid of him. He's now actually admitted that he himself is now going to go and campaign for the guy who wants his job. Doesn't make any sense, does it? Make it make sense. For heaven's sake. Coming up, let's get some news with Edward Hughes.
Good morning, all. I'm Edward Hughes. Wow, what a weekend. It was glorious. Edwina and I hit the beach. We're absolutely roasting in the hottest May on record. 34 degrees Celsius of glorious climate victory. Perfect for melting on the M25 while pretending it's not global weirding. Keir Starmer's appalled, his favourite word, that boys who raped girls got community service instead of jail. Because nothing says justice like a strongly worded statement and a quick review. Dover's in gridlock from new EU checks that France has now kindly paused, and the usual political circus continues, with Reform making promises, and everyone's sweating through it. Stay hydrated, folks. Or don't. What difference does it make? Please subscribe if you haven't done so. K. Later's Tigers.
Welcome back. As you can see, if you just joined me, I'm wearing my summer shirt because at the end of the day, you don't get to do it very often. Peach and I last night had a little conversation and I said, I think I'm going to come in a Hawaiian shirt. And he said, so am I. So he's wearing one as well. I really wish all young people were as switched on as Jesseline, says Poppies and Pride. Yeah, so do I. Good to hear from her. She's a new face. A couple of pictures that need putting up on the wall, says Tomo. Eh?
The new picture at the back.
Oh yeah, well there's a new picture at the back, you see. What you can see over my shoulder there is a new pin picture, because I'm delighted to say Mr. Burgess from Hampshire sent it in. He's the guy that sent in the original corkboard, you know, Pooch, with all the different parts of the world that we've got listeners in. So he sent this in last few days to Mike and crew at the Mike Graham Show. I thought in addition to the world map I sent you, you would find this UK map just as useful. So I don't know whether we should put it, I suppose we should put it up, shouldn't we? Yeah. Would you put it next to the clocks, maybe?
I'll hang it just below the clock.
Hang it just below the clock? I don't know. Well, we've got some super chats coming in. This one from Bacon Belly. I thought I was watching a rerun of Miami Vice. Yeah, I've got the fake Ferrari sitting outside. We can't afford a real one, so we've just got a Pontiac Firebird and stuck a body over it.
Pennant of the day.
As you do. Pennant of the day. Where is Orkney and Shetland on your map? I don't know. Maybe it's not there.
Yeah, maybe you didn't make the map.
Yeah, maybe I didn't make the map. Maybe we should ask Mr. Burgess from Hampshire where Orkney and Shetland is on the map. See, in most maps, what you get is you get a little square out to the right, don't you?
Yeah.
And where they put Orkney and Shetland. Yeah. So when you're a kid, I remember thinking, why have they got those two islands inside a black box? And what does that mean? Yeah. And does it mean that, you know, you have to go over some kind of weird black line to get to those islands? I never understood why you had to do that. The reason is Orkney and Shetland are a very long way away. And so if you've got a map which has to be to scale, you'd have to have a massive bit of headroom, which would look wrong, which is, I'm assuming, why they're not there. Yeah. You probably know that. You're just being a pedant, aren't you? Let's hope Keir takes Mandy up with him, with Streeting bringing up the rear, which I'm sure he's done many times. Streeting, by the way, when you were away, Pooch, made a complete dog's breakfast of his entire kind of, I'm running for president scenario, right? Because first of all, he started saying that he wasn't going to resign, and then he was going to resign, and then he was going to resign, then he wasn't going to run because he couldn't find enough people to back him. Then he wasn't going to run, not because he couldn't find enough people to back him, but just because he thought it was a bad idea, because he liked Keir Starmer and he just wanted to send him a message. Then he decided he was going to run, but then by the time he decided to run, Andy Burnham had also decided to run, so everybody forgot about Wes Streeting. And then before the end of the week, he then said he wasn't going to run again. That's basically the game plan that's going on here.
Oh, hang on, Mark.
So it's been completely... There's no Isle of Man, says Tommy. Wow, what's happened to the Isle of Man? Do you think it's been wiped out without anybody knowing? God almighty. How bizarre.
Speak to Mark.
Mark Littlewood's here, isn't he? Mark, very good morning. Now, see, there's a man that can be relied upon to wear a nice shirt. Top man, Blank Holiday Special. Although, to be fair, Mark, you tend to wear those kinds of shirts all the time.
Yeah, I thought you were a bit ludicrously understated today, Mike. So I thought I'd have to outdo you a bit with something, properly loud. Yeah.
Properly loud, yeah, I know. It's absolutely great. Well, listen, it is going to be a beautiful a day today. I don't know what plans you have for later on, but you weren't able to attend the football match that you wanted to attend. So I suppose you're probably not that happy to see Hull getting promoted, are you?
Well, given the choice between Hull and Middlesbrough, I definitely wanted Hull. It was Middlesbrough who did for Southampton's chances.
Yeah.
And if you'd asked me at the start of the season whether as a Saints fan I would have been happy to have finished the season 21 games unbeaten and scoring a winner in a knockout competition in extra time, I would have ripped your hand off.
Yes.
So we managed all of that, but then, of course, got expelled. Football. Bloody hell.
I know, absolutely. Well, I was cursing the TV yesterday, as was Pooch, because, we hate Arsenal. Not because we hate Arsenal for any particular footballing reason, but just because Keir Starmer supports them. And we were sort of hoping that they might sort of screw it all up at the end and lose to Manchester City. But unfortunately, they've been crowned, I think, for the first time in 20 years, Premier League champions, which is making us all feel a bit yicky today.
Yeah, is that a signal for the Makerfield by-election, do you think, then?
Well, it could well be, because unfortunately Starmer, as many people have said, including yourself, I think, he's still there. He's sort of operating as though nothing has ever happened to him, as though nobody has issued any kind of, warning that they would want to kick him out, that no cabinet ministers have told him it's time to move on and to prepare for some kind of, what they might call, slow or quick transition. For somebody new to come in. He's even talking about going to campaign for the man who wants to replace him, Andy Burnham, which could be a double jeopardy kind of, threat, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, isn't I'm trying to work out in this completely bizarre political world we're in now, what Keir Starmer's route to survival is. And it's surely that Andy Burnham narrowly loses in the by-election, isn't it? Because then one of the big pretenders is out of the way. As you've just mentioned, it looks pretty unlikely that Wes Streeting has got the necessary 80 supporters that he needs to put his name on the ballot paper. So if Keir Starmer is sunning himself in checkers this weekend and working out what his survival strategy is, he should get his ass up to Makerfield as soon as possible, be seen shoulder to shoulder with Andy Burnham. The Reform UK photographer will be there to take as many pictures of that as possible to put all over Reform's leaflets. And he may very well slit Andy Burnham's throat. That's actually the way that he might survive. So you've got this completely bizarre position. I mean, you were saying earlier, Mike, do we really believe Andy Burnham's on 43%? I don't believe he's on 43% as Andy Burnham, but I think there's a good number of voters who have bought the line, if my overriding priority is to get rid of Keir Starmer as soon as possible, I've probably got to vote for this Burnham guy. I mean, very weird that they're members of the same political party. But you could scupper that narrative the longer and the more prominent Keir Starmer's visits to Makerfield are. So I can't wait for that to happen. That will be box office. Hilarious.
I think it will be.
Every minute.
Well, because, we saw even was it yesterday or the day before? Saturday, I think, the assembled Middlesbrough fans standing in Trafalgar Square, all chanting the famous Keir Starmer chant. That we won't repeat this morning. And as somebody pointed out, once you've lost the football fans, you've lost the country. There's literally no way back.
Yeah, well, that sort of seems to happen at every sporting fixture everywhere now. I'm a regular viewer of the darts, Mike, and that chant is one of the more popular chants that sort of I mean, Sky Sports have now not even bothered to cloak it. It booms out across your television set as you're watching Luke Littler take on Luke Humphreys in the darts. So yeah, very, very weird times, right? I mean, I don't know what's going to happen next. I am a betting man. I think Reform UK are quite attractive odds because they're the underdogs at the bookmakers. So I think they're probably worth a punt because you can get good odds on them in Makerfield. But the really interesting thing that people are having to get their heads around is this Restore Britain kind of phenomenon, and whether that might, which the only opinion poll we've seen from Makerfield would point to it, whether they might peel off enough votes, you know, not necessarily to make a major impact themselves, but, you know, 5, 6, 7%, that would be the difference between Burnham winning and Burnham losing. And my, oh my, I mean, that would be an extraordinary state of affairs, wouldn't it? If the right of centre of British politics facilitate Burnham moving into number 10, hope a big, big lesson would be learnt from that if that is actually what transpires.
Yes. Because it's a difficult one to figure out, isn't it? Because there's a piece on the front pages of the Telegraph this morning from Nigel Farage saying that Elon Musk backing Restore Britain yesterday has kind of put the cat amongst the pigeons. It risks splitting the vote. And of course, Nigel Farage has spent a very long time saying that Restore Britain is nothing more than a bloke with a social media account and not much else. But they won all the seats in Great Yarmouth, so that argument doesn't really hold water anymore because they clearly can muster the local teams of support if they need to. Well, they certainly did in Great Yarmouth. Whether they can do that in Manchester, I don't know, because their candidate, we played a little interview with her a bit earlier. Should we play it again, Pooch? Just show it to Mark. Just, I don't know if you've seen this, but have a look at this.
You told me the first thing that got you into all of this was the policy paper that you read. Do you remember which policy paper it was?
I don't now. It just popped up on Facebook. Good old Facebook. Yeah, it just popped up on there, and I just was like, yes, this is what we need. This is what the British people need. And anyone who lives here, you know, we just need to put ourselves first for once, you know.
And I get there are other policy papers, so I know you probably wouldn't have had time whilst doing this election to read the energy paper the policy paper for energy. No. But there's now energy, big investment into small modular reactors, hopefully, and also the whole net zero thing. So, what do you think? Because obviously they're giving all of this money for all of these wind turbines and everything, pushing up the bills.
I mean, save that money. What are we doing that for? You know, I would say just save that money, distribute it elsewhere. And I've read the paper, but it's very in depth. So, and because I've been doing this, I've not been able to study it at all. But yeah, that's my thought.
I mean, you know, it's not great, is it?
She could do with a little bit of media training, Mike, right?
I think so.
I don't think it's a very good line to say, I'm running for public office in order to be a politician, and in consequence of that, I've had no time to think about any policy, right? No. The whole point of running.
And I read something on Facebook, but I can't remember what it was.
Yes, quite. Truly inspiring.
But that's the bit where yeah, and that's the bit where, look, it may well be that they can muster a decent number of supporters and they could get up to 10%. But, I mean, Rupert Lowe's talking about winning it. He's not winning it with her, is he?
No, I mean, I would have thought not. And, because Rupert Lowe put out his canvass returns, right? This was actually just before the opinion poll came out. And he said, look, you know, in the interest of full disclosure, and I think he claimed they were on about 25% of the vote or something. And a few hours later, the opinion poll dropped. Look, the truth is this, Mike, in any election, if you asked each candidate what share of the vote are you going to get, it adds up to about 250% if you add them all together, right? So all parties tend to overstate their support. It's very unusual for a candidate to be at the count and say, oh my God, I'm doing brilliantly well. The reaction on the doorstep was absolutely terrible. Where did all these votes come from? So all parties exaggerate their vote. But look, there's no point in pretending that this isn't potentially yet another problem for the split on the right of centre. Okay, I mean the essential pitch of Restore Britain, which Rebecca Shepherd, their candidate, didn't really communicate with aplomb there, is that Nigel Farage and Reform are all a bit, I think Elon Musk uses the phrase weak sauce. They're not serious enough. They're trying to use a scalpel when they should be using a bazooka. And we need a kind of complete reboot of the entire system of government in Britain, not just sort of changes on tax on overtime and keeping the triple lock and retaining the Office for Budget Responsibility. So weirdly, Nigel Farage actually finds himself in the sort of position that Tory leaders found themselves in over many elections vis-a-vis him, right? That you'd have the leader of the Tory party sort of saying, well, there's this lot, UKIP or the Brexit party off to our right flank, but don't vote for them, it's a wasted vote and you'll let the left in. Kind of the boot's on the other foot now. Farage is leading the main platoon, the biggest party on the right, according to vote share, but has got this flank on his right now saying, well, you're not sufficiently right wing. And it's going to be fascinating to see how he plays that. I mean, the first thing that Reform should do, which is an old Liberal Democrat campaigning tactic, is that poll, I think it was commissioned by Survation. They need to print that as a bar chart on every leaflet they send out in Makerfield. And it's always the Liberal Democrat tactic to try and prove it's a two-horse race. It's always the Liberal Democrats against, narrowly behind whoever the front runner is. And you try and sort of say, therefore, if you want to defeat Labour, it's evident from the polling data that Reform are the only party that have the chance to do it. And I think that is the case. But they need to make sure sort of everybody in Makerfield recognises that and knows if they're voting for Restore, they are casting a protest vote, not a vote that's likely to stop Andy Burnham from becoming Prime Minister.
I mean, the other thing that I find interesting is all the analysis of what the people there have voted like in the past. And it's only really been a constituency of its own since 2024. It was newly created. So, yes, you can probably look at some of the ways that they voted in the past, but they never voted as an entire constituency as Makerfield until the 2024 election, and where Reform came quite close second. But Reform's problem seems like to be an insider, sometimes not so great.
Yeah. No, that's right. I mean, what Reform are having to do, and I quite admire them for their efforts here because they're having to build the car while they drive it, is that they've moved from being, which basically they were at the 2024 election, a dustbin for protest votes, largely on the centre-right, people who were completely disillusioned with the Conservatives but didn't want to vote for a left-wing party. And that's quite an easy thing to project. I mean, you won't make a great deal of progress. I mean, they did quite well in that election. They won 5 seats. They got, 13%, 14% of the vote. But simply being disgruntled and saying, vote for us if you're really cheesed off with the state of affairs, well, that got them to that stage. But now they're in the difficult position of thinking, we could actually form a government. We're probably a little bit shy at the moment in terms of the opinion poll ratings of really winning a general election. We'd probably be the largest party. But if we're serious about forming a government, do we need to kind of pivot to a position of reassurance to people to sort of say, look, you can trust us. People who haven't voted for us yet, who kind of think that we're a bit crazy and foaming at the mouth, do we actually need to show that we're the adults in the room? And that seems to be their strategy at the moment, to sort of say, look, we're working through our numbers. Here are a few tax policies. We are going to change things, but don't worry, we're not going to blow up the entire country. And it seems to me their plan is to try and peel off, another 5, 6, 7% of the electorate. That's about the amount they need if they're serious about winning the election outright, probably from the Conservatives or the undecided column. But the problem is if they tilt that way, if they look reassuring, then to a certain chunk of voters, Restore Britain suddenly looks like the exciting, edgy, angry, more full-on option. And that's where they're probably losing, not swathes of votes, but a number, a good handful in Makerfield, and that might be replicated across the country. So they've got to face 2 ways at once, whilst building the car, whilst they drive it. Quite a conundrum for Nigel Farage.
Yeah, it is pretty difficult. And what did you make, just before I let you go, of the announcement of the weekend that they're going to basically do away with the Cabinet Office? We've got a little clip here about how they plan to do that. Check it out.
There's a lot of news at the moment in politics. Will Keir Starmer hold on? Will Andy or Wes or Angela make it up that street behind me to number 10? The answer is, I don't know, and it doesn't matter, because the real power in this country isn't in Downing Street. It's here, 70 Whitehall, home of the Cabinet Office. In this building, 11,000. The most important person in the country is the Cabinet Secretary, Antonia Romeo. Now listen, she doesn't just have one job, Cabinet Secretary, she's got three. She does the old-fashioned job of organising the paperwork for the Cabinet. That's what the job was supposed to be years ago. But she also runs the whole civil service. 500,000 people under Antonia Romeo. And then lastly, she's the person who is the principal policy advisor to the Prime Minister. And there's something else. She's written her own job description, and she's included in it a role for herself to be the steward and the guardian of the Constitution. I'm surprised she didn't add that she's Archbishop of Canterbury while she's at it. Anyway, this month, Keir Starmer put in the King's speech a plan to strengthen trust in government. And she's going to do that, of course, by strengthening the civil service. So that's what's coming. More of the same, government by officials. In Reform, we have a different idea. We think the way to restore trust in government is to put ministers back in charge, and by making ministers accountable to that place down the road, Parliament. So today I can announce our plans for the centre of government. We're going to scrap the Cabinet Office. We're going to restore power meaningfully to 10 Downing Street. We're going to abolish the post of Cabinet Secretary. We'll have a proper political chief of staff, like every other country has, to run the administration of the government. So number 10 in charge, not the Cabinet Office. The Prime Minister in charge, not the Cabinet Secretary. And then it really will matter who walks up Downing Street.
Danny Kruger there with that particular thing.
Yep.
Is that the kind of thing that works, or is that too kind of inside the beltway, if you like?
Yeah, actually, great question, Mike. In some ways, it's both. I think Danny Kruger, other than Nigel Farage, is the most interesting and probably the most important person in the Reform Party. So, look, it is inside the beltway in the sense that I bet no voter in Makerfield, when somebody knocks on their door, says, I'm thinking of voting for you, but what plans do you have to reform the role of the Cabinet Office Secretary? Right? Nobody asks that at all. So it's one for the political nerds, but at the same time, it's important because what Danny Kruger has alighted on, and a lot of us have been arguing it, my own outfit, Popular Conservatism, the great historian David Starkey, is the machinery of government in Britain does not work. Okay, so to that extent, it doesn't especially matter who you put in office because they'll be pulling levers and trying to pull levers and find that they're just pushing string. And Kruger is totally on top of that in many aspects, without sounding too tinfoiled hatted here, we are run really by a permanent bureaucracy rather than by the government that we elect through Parliament. And I think if Kruger and Reform can change their message as such to say, look, we're going to completely reset the way Westminster and Whitehall works. So you, the people, are in charge. And if you vote for something, you're going to get it. It's not going to be stymied by bureaucrats and civil servants. And a key point that Danny pointed out there was the loyalty of civil servants is now to the Constitution and the rule of law, as if they're higher than politicians. So they can actually say, oh, Minister, you can't possibly do that. You know, I need to safeguard the Constitution against you. Well, that means your democratically elected politicians don't have the power. So the actual policy paper, if you read it, it's one for the nerds. If you're interested in the way that government tries to stitch itself together in Whitehall and Westminster, it will be your cup of tea. But the wider message, I think, that Danny Kruger's putting forward, which is quite a powerful one, is nothing in Britain works. That's because our system of government is completely dysfunctional, and we are going to radically change that. So the people that you vote for will do what they say they're going to do, and you, the people, have the power to kick them out. And that requires a total overhaul of basically the British Constitution and resetting it really to where it was 20 or so years ago. So we don't just have rule by lawyers, you know, Lord Hermer telling everybody what's legal and illegal and him boxing in the Prime Minister even in that regard, or civil servants or quangos telling the Chancellor of the Exchequer you can't raise tax by that much or you can't cut it by that much. Weirdly enough, although politicians are unpopular, we want to give politicians more power because that's the part of the Constitution which is directly answerable to the people. And you might not like them, but you have the power to kick them out, which is not something that you can say of the top civil servants. So the civil servants need to take their orders from the politicians rather than boxing the politicians in. Danny Kruger is definitely onto something. Not quite sure yet how to convert it into a campaign slogan. But if you can convert that type of thought into a campaign slogan, I think it will be monumentally popular across the UK.
It's something to do with taking back power, I suspect, and they'll come up with something similar. Mark Littlewood, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Enjoy the day. Mark Littlewood there from Popular Conservatism telling us about how he thinks Reform are definitely onto something with this business of getting rid of the cabinet secretaries and the cabinet office, because they are the people that are the kind of the hold-ups, I guess, if you like, to any proper progress that might be made by Reform if and when they do get into power. Coming up, Donald McLeod is here. Should we do a bit of news first? A bit of Edward Hughes first with the news.
Good morning, all. I'm Edward Hughes. Wow, what a weekend. It was glorious. Edwina and I hit the beach. We're absolutely roasting in the hottest May on record. 34 degrees Celsius of glorious climate victory. Perfect for melting on the M25 while pretending it's not global weirding. Keir Starmer's appalled, his favourite word, that boys who raped girls got community service instead of jail. Because nothing says justice like a strongly worded statement and a quick review. Dover's in gridlock from new EU checks that France has now kindly paused, and the usual political circus continues, with Reform making promises, and everyone's sweating through it. Stay hydrated, folks. Or don't. What difference does it make? Please subscribe if you haven't done so. K. Later's Tigers.
Yeah, some people suggested that he would be dressed differently today, but he's obviously taking his job seriously, wearing a suit and a tie. Let's see what Donald McLeod's wearing up in Bonnie, Scotland. Very good morning to you, Donald. Hey! He's got some kind of Hawaiian number on. Listen,
we're wearing shirts that would make an African dictator proud.
It's true. Well, you know, it's Bank Holiday Monday. I'm assuming it's not as hot up there as it is down here because it's 34 here.
Well, Glasgow hasn't turned to glass. The moors haven't melted. The bagpipes haven't burst, and the poor wee haggis haven't self-imploded. But everybody's got their taps off up here, and there's some states walking about Glasgow looking like big sort of seals and these sort of tight, stretchy things, you know. So, Glasgow and Scotland is warming up nicely.
Very nice, and presumably that's good news for your other business in the old the campsites. Presumably, people getting bitten to death by midges, right?
No, the midgie season hasn't quite started yet. You know, it's doing very well. The campsites are just booming. I mean, and of course, Staycations have went up 480% since the old war in Iran. And that's great news for campsites. Not great for clubs, though. Back over here, the clubs are, Are
you getting affected? Are you getting anything out of this ridiculous Rachel Reeves idea that you get 5% VAT instead of 20 if you go to a theme park? I bet it's not working for your business.
No. I mean, I don't think it's even working for the theme parks. What is it? It's about 400 quid for a family of four, and £2.70 or something off it.
I know, it's mad.
Great savings. No, we are getting nothing as per normal from Rachel Reeves. She's an absolute disgrace. And, so hospitality, and as I was saying in the weekend there, hospitality has been getting hammered right across the UK by the Nasal Night and Rachel from Accounts. They've just battered it stupid since they came into power. Jobs are fallen by the wayside. I think it was unemployment's now hit 5% and rising across the UK. The 18 to 24-year-olds, and since they came to power alone, 240,000 18 to 24-year-olds are now on the brew, on the dole. And and that's coming up to 1 million of them. NEETs, as they're called, not in employment, education or training. And it's dire. It's a desperate situation out there, Mike. Especially
it really
for
is.
Hospitality.
Well, I know and you'll know from your own kids' situation. I mean, it's really, really hard for kids now to get any kind of job, even if it's just a weekend job or a Saturday job. Working behind a bar. There's no work really. I mean, long-term joblessness. I'm reading this morning in the Telegraph is at its highest level in a decade. 474,000 people long-term unemployed, and that means unemployed for more than a year, basically. You wrote about this last week, didn't you? About how the young kids really just haven't really got any opportunities at all.
Well, there's none. I mean, Reeves and Starmer stifled growth, didn't they? I mean, when they came to power, especially when they brought in the employers' national insurance rises and then an 11% increase on minimum and living wage. It just, the cost of living crisis already created a sort of doom and gloom for hospitality. People aren't going out; they were not spending as much, and so businesses like mine are having to cut shifts. Not open all week, as we know, and this is reflected right across the UK, and it's not just a Scottish element. And these kids are not getting the opportunities to get trained or come in and get a job because you can't afford to employ them. It's a disgrace. I mean, they really have put up barriers to employment and barriers to growth, and this has to be. They have to go. And, I said this at the weekend, they really have to be sort of kicked out of power. It's a disgrace what they've been doing to the country.
It really is. And this morning, I mean, they've got Alan Milburn, who's one of the Blair kind of holdovers, if you like, who's in as the government's work czar, right? And the thing that really annoyed me about him, I saw him yesterday on the BBC, he's doing that thing that all these politicians are now doing, right? I wonder if Donald could do a Lewis McLeod impression. I don't know. Yeah, you do an impression of Lewis McLeod doing you. But he's doing this thing that all these Labour politicians are now doing, where he's got a suit on, a dark suit, and he's wearing a black polo, a black polo shirt with just buttons down, and you just think, what do you think you are? He's about the same age as me, right? And I know that I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt, but that's different.
I know, not the best day to actually be slagging.
It's not. No, but I mean, if you're supposed to be working for the government, would you mind like wearing a proper shirt and a proper jacket? And he's basically now saying that we're spending too much on benefits, that we're spending something like, I think it's £25 to kill. So they're now saying, front page of the Times today, basically families on benefits could be paid hundreds of pounds a month to stop them discouraging their teenage children from taking apprenticeships. Well, first of all, how do you know they're discouraging them? And, what are you going to do? You're going to go and knock on some guy's door and go, are you encouraging your kid to get an apprenticeship? And you go, no. He goes, yeah, it's 500 quid. That's ridiculous.
No, there is no incentive there for kids to go out and work. I mean that there's no push from the politicians. There's no push for many parents. It's just they're just left, in the wilderness. They don't understand what is going on, but they're getting tons of benefits. They're all there, free bus travel. They can do it about. They get unemployment benefit. They get welfare payments are going through the roof, as we know. And we see that in Scotland here. I mean, the laugh is that Scotland's got. It's not funny. Not a funny laugh. Not. But it's like we've got 5 billion black hole there to fill in, and they should be cutting back on welfare. But that is the last thing they say they're going to do. Jenny Gilruth has come out and said, you're not going to do that, not going to come back on welfare payments, not incentivise work, and certainly not get rid of any of their 11,000 SPADs that they've got working for them up here.
Right.
They're guaranteed jobs. But I really feel for kids. You and I come from where you had to work. You went out. But you enjoyed going out to work.
Yeah, right.
At 10, 11-year-old, you were doing paper rounds. None of that happens anymore. You're not getting an education in life. You're not getting taught how to be, somebody in life. How to thrive, how to boost yourself. There is none of that. They're all languishing about at the moment and wondering, the world hates me, full of anxiety, it's full of problems. And in a way it's not their fault, it's government fault, it's the way they're getting taught fault. It's their parents' fault, and really I despair going forward, and I despair even further when I'm watching that by-election down south, and we're going to have one up here, and you're thinking, my God, we're just going to get more of the same. It's time to call an end to that. My big thing is I think there should be a general election if there's going to be a new Prime Minister.
Well, do you know who else thinks that? You know who else thinks that? Andy Burnham thinks that as well. He said that when the Tories had a new leader, and he went, "Well, they must have a general election."
Do you believe he'll call an election once he's in power? Not a chance.
Well, the funny thing is, there is a school of thought. I don't know whether it's going to be the case, but if he does win, there's a school of thought that says if he takes on reform early enough, they might not be ready. And he might be able to get some kind of benefit from basically not being Keir Starmer. I don't buy it. I don't believe that.
Would you bet against that one? I think they will be ready, and I think a lot of the other parties will be sitting there rubbing their hands. The Greens as well. You know, I think turkeys don't vote for Christmas, but I think. Going forward, there should be legislation put in place when a leadership changes, like a prime minister, there should be an election called. That would give them pause for thought. That would make them, button down and say, well, what are we doing wrong here, instead of just carrying the can. It's 4 in the past 10 years unelected. Theresa May, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak, all Tories. Now, we're going to have the same with Labour. I just think it's a disgrace. I think it's an abuse of democracy. We didn't vote. The people voted, I suppose, for Starmer, but we didn't vote for Burnham.
But not
we
really.
Didn't vote for West Street. Well, no. yeah. Like if you look at it, the lowest electoral polls out. Voters out there. So you're saying not really, but. There is an abuse of democracy, I think, that we do not get to choose who leads the country. A by-election may do that. We wait and see. But I think it really is a case that we should have an election, a general election, if and when a new leader for Labour is appointed.
Yeah, but I guess under those rules, then Starmer just wouldn't ever move, would he? Just sit there and go, well, I'm not having an election.
Well, like he's moving just now.
Yeah, I mean, the only masterstroke that he's played so far is to tell Andy Burnham, "Don't worry, I'm coming up to campaign for you." He's going, "No, you're all right. You're okay. Don't do that."
Oh, please do. Please, I want to see this one. I want the abuse, the dog's abuse.
That would be funny, wouldn't it?
It's going to be something
That would
else.
be funny.
But we've got one up here. We've got an election up here.
Yes.
A by-election up here with Stephen Flynn. He's vacated his seat to join in the northeast of Aberdeen. To vacate his seat to go to Holyrood, but not before he's went off in a jolly to the World Cup.
I was going to say, why is he suddenly giving? Why is he giving up one? He's giving up one gravy train to do another one.
Yeah, straight on to this one. The first thing he does for the people of Aberdeen, now that he's been elected up, is to fly out to Boston, I think it is, for to support his team as part of the Tartan Army.
Yeah.
God, I don't think he'll be there that long, right enough. As much as I want Scotland to do well, I think he'll be one of the first planes home.
Judging by the way they've been playing, it's all a bit tricky. But speaking of which, what's the fallout from the Celtic story from last week or the week before? Because I know you were writing about that as well.
Well, it's all blown away. Thankfully, people were getting their knickers in a twist up here. Their kilts were getting damp. It was just like, come on. It's turned out that the fans running onto the pitch, there was no real assault. There was no assaults, actually. And even Derek McInnes, the Hearts manager, had said, call an end to the game, call it off. Celtic have been accused of cheating. Hearts hadn't won a game away from home since, I think, February. If they'd won their games, they would have won the league. That's the bottom line. And at the weekend there, Celtic winning the Scottish Cup, well, that was sort of expected that. The fairness certainly don't have the squad that Celtic had. And, it was a pretty boring game, back for it. Great. I'm a Celtic fan, so great that they won it. But it wasn't a nice episode, that whole thing. And the thing that got me was when Celtic fans started attacking the police in the Tron Gate.
Yeah, that was
and I say
ridiculous.
Celtic, that was disgusting, and that was a disgrace. And I guarantee that every single one of them that threw a bottle or tried to assault the police didn't have a ticket for the match. They hadn't been at the game. So, but hopefully they'll get the summary justice that is required and get banged up for that. But on the whole, back to normal. Wondering
absolutely.
if, who's going to be the new manager of Celtic and a new season. But it has been one of the most exciting Scottish football campaigns in Premier League for years. Just the fact that Hearts nearly got there.
Yes, and the belief is they'll probably get there eventually, won't they? But there we are. Final question for you. Fiona McLeod, your niece, has apparently been consorting with young Edward Hughes at the weekend, which he's unfortunately given away. Can you not rein her in a bit?
No. She's a good-looking young lady, and I doubt her choice with Edward Hughes is too clever, but needs must, and was it a wee baby Hughes McLeod's there.
We can't be having that kind of thing because HR will be all over it like a rash.
Can we? Yeah.
No,
of course
HR.
Not.
This is,
this home of common sense.
2026 now, for heaven's sake. Anyway, listen, Donald, good to see you. Enjoy the sunshine and the weather, and we shall see you very soon. Donald McLeod from the Clan McLeod.
You're not going to do a wee hula dance.
I don't think so, no. You don't want to see that. You definitely don't want to see that. Donald, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. A couple of other stories, by the way, to mention. I just thought I'd bring this one up. It was from the weekend. Sunday Times front page yesterday about Prince Andrew. Now, I know he's not Prince Andrew anymore. He's Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. But last week, Pooch, they did a big piece on Friday's papers, I think. How the police are kind of, basically flailing around looking for more evidence of wrongdoing because they don't seem to have much of a case against him, right? Now, I'm not defending him, not saying that we should be defending him because clearly there are things that he's done that he shouldn't have been doing. But the Sunday Times yesterday wrote a story, in effect, which said that Prince Andrew, or Andrew Mountbatten Windsor rather, is now being investigated for an incident at Ascot, right? Royal Ascot, where he apparently behaved inappropriately towards a woman. The police won't say what they mean by that. They wouldn't say how serious it was or how unserious it was. Who knows whether it was him, touching somebody inappropriately or speaking inappropriately. But I thought to myself, is this where we are now? Right? They're clutching at straws. If they haven't got any evidence and they haven't got a case, then just drop the case. Right? And if they can't prove anything beyond a shadow of a doubt, then you can't prosecute the guy. I'm not, as I say, I'm not in the business of defending him, but I just think it's getting a bit ridiculous now, where people are saying, oh, he was a bit inappropriate. I mean, if they're going to start making it illegal to be inappropriate at Ascot, then they might as well do away with Ascot, right? Anyway, that's just my thought for that. Let's talk to Anne Widdecombe, who is here, of course. Should we do the little Anne Widdecombe thing that we have?
Now, only two sorts of people oppose free speech, and they are at opposite ends of the scale. Snowflakes and totalitarians. I am offended, upset, insulted at least 30 times a day. Tough. It is not necessary to flash your knickers to do a decent ballroom dance. Free speech is for all, not for the privileged few. Nobody has the right to live their lives being protected from offence or from insult or from hurt feelings. And if you really can't take it, become a hermit.
Let us say a very happy bank holiday. Oh, look at this. Bank holiday Monday to Anne Widdecombe. Look at you. Morning.
Well, I was told, Mike, that you were going to be in a Hawaiian shirt. I didn't believe it. I switched on and you were. So I thought, well, I must get into the spirit of this.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely brilliant. Fantastic. Great hat, by the way, and fantastic sunglasses. But I mean, it was literally like being on holiday this weekend, I thought. It was really lovely. So I just thought to myself, suddenly last night, I thought to myself, I know lots of people won't be working today, so they can gaze upon me in a slightly different manner than they normally would. But But I must say, I'm not at all in favour of all of these bleeding warnings that we get from everybody telling us that, please carry water with you wherever you go. I mean, we did grow up, and I certainly remember, as I'm sure you do, the summer of 1976, where we seemed to I spent most of my time sunbathing on my parents' flat roof in Hampstead, getting sunburned.
They just try to infantilise the population completely. And you go on a station and the platform's wet and you get announcements telling you, that the platform is slippery, so please don't come. As if we're 5-year-olds. And the whole idea of being an adult is that you assess risk and you decide whether to take it or not.
Well, exactly. But we now live in this world, don't we, where we're constantly being advised. I mean, Stella Creasy, who's probably not your favourite politician, I wouldn't imagine. Stella Creasy warning of the heat wave coming. Have a look at this.
Walthamstow, it's Friday the 22nd of May. The Met Office has issued what it calls a yellow weather warning. What that means is they are concerned that the temperature will rise enough over the next couple of days, basically until Wednesday of next week, that it may cause problems for some vulnerable people within our community. Now, they're predicting around 32 degrees. So, for example, the tube might get really hot and uncomfortable. If you haven't drunk enough water, you might overheat. If you've got a health condition, you might find it very difficult to move around in those sorts of temperatures. I'm sharing this information so that you can share it with people. Please do carry water with you at all times over the next couple of days. Wear sunscreen, sun protection, sunstroke, a real risk as well. If you know of vulnerable people within our local community, please do check in on them over the next couple of days. Make sure that your pets and your kids are drinking enough water and have access to drinking water too. If you are a local business, please consider providing a shaded area so that if anybody needs to sit down and recover, they can come in and be aware of these potential risks. It's lovely to have sunny evenings in Walthamstow, but actually at these sorts of levels of heat, there could be real problems for some in our community. So by working together, we can help keep Walthamstow safe in whatever the weather is.
I've got some water here, just in case. I mean, you literally see people on the...
She really is.
I know.
I mean, we do not need talking down to in that fashion. I mean, that is how parents talk to children and say, you must take some water with you and be very careful and get in the shade and here's some sun cream.
Right.
That's what parents do to children, not what adults
I know.
do to adults.
Also, the idea that, on Stella Creasy's advice, somebody's going to come knocking on my door to go, you drinking enough water? I think I'd be tempted to tell them to bugger off.
Well, I wouldn't quite use that expression, but I would do exactly that in spirit, yes.
I mean, it is extraordinary, isn't it? Speaking of other sort of instructions that I've seen over the course of the last couple of days, there's a piece running currently on Sky TV saying that we're about to once again enter a war footing, according to John Healey, who is our Secretary of State for Defence, right? However, the problem is for him, one, I saw a piece last week that said that if we ever did go to war, we've only got enough drones for about a week. 7 days worth of drones, and then we'd run out. I also see on the front page of the Times today, an RAF jet carrying the Defence Secretary was hit by an electronic warfare attack after flying near the Russian border. And I seem to remember this happening once before. I think it was when the Tories were in charge, where some Russian jammed the radar on a military flight. We seem woefully unprepared for any kind of conflagration if there is one. How did we ever get this bad?
Well, we are utterly unprepared.
Yeah.
The rot started, but in a very small way, after the end of the Cold War, when the Berlin Wall came down, and suddenly it wasn't necessary to have the build-up and the concentration that we'd had in the past. But once politicians saw, oh, look, you can save money by that, and we're all perfectly safe, aren't we? Because 9/11 hadn't happened then. We're all perfectly safe, aren't we? So it's worth taking the risk. And unfortunately, nobody cried halt. Nobody said, we've now gone a bit too far. We need to reverse this a bit. We certainly need to stabilise it. They've gone on reducing our forces. You can trace it. You can actually trace it through the government's own figures. And when I say government, I mean governments.
Yes.
You can trace it all the way through. reduction in armed forces, reduction in the reserve, reduction in the armour and the weapons and the tanks, reduction in the navy, and reductions everywhere, every year, because that's the way you can save a bit of cash. And now we have a virtually, not quite, but virtually an undefended country, and it is the fault of every single government over the last 25 odd years.
Yes, I mean, it has been, as you say, a complete and utter dereliction of duty, it seems to me. I mean, I remember as well, though, part of the problem is that back in sort of, you know, shall we say the mid-teens, 2015, 2016, we were being told, and I remember being told this on various different shows that I did, from sort of army chiefs and military experts that, you know, the wars of the future will be fought on computers, that cyber crime and cyber attacks will be a bigger threat than anything, you know, with boots on the ground, which has turned out to be complete and utter nonsense.
Well, it is, and I mean, what's the first thing that happened in Ukraine? You know, it was boots on the ground, and it is a nonsense. I mean, I accept absolutely, you know, that the threats of the future probably will be cyber related, and I accept absolutely that we have moved from vast concentrations of troops to extremely targeted weaponry, but there is a limit. You are always going to need troops, and at the moment we would be very hard put even to stand to, never mind to actually fight.
Yes, no, absolutely right. And speaking of sort of defence of the realm, let's talk a bit about the criminal stories that are around today. Police will be caretakers in the community for criminals under Labour's soft justice. This is coming from Brian Booth on the front page of the Daily Mail today, Deputy National Chairman of the Police Federation. There was a terrible story that happened recently where Ryan Davis was a plainclothes police officer on an operation in Hereford. He was savagely attacked by a father and son who punched, kicked and stamped on him, strangling him until he was nearly unconscious. He suffered a broken leg, multiple fractures, dislocated broken ankle, face lacerations, including damage to his eye. One of the attackers has been freed after being sentenced to 3 years in prison after just 3 months. And I mean, this is going on now all the time, isn't it?
It says it all, and of course criminals laugh at the system. You know, the only thing that will actually cause a criminal to pause is the thought that he might be caught, and that having been caught, what follows will be very difficult. And that is the only thing that keeps them in check. And if they think that they're going to be lightly sentenced, released very early, maybe not jailed at all, of course there's no disincentive there to do what they want to do.
Yeah, of course not. And at the end of the day, we've also seen that other terrible case of the young girls who were raped by the teenage boys who were not sent to prison because the judge said he didn't wish to criminalise them. Well, I'm sorry, if you're found guilty of rape, surely you're already criminalised, aren't you?
Yes, I mean, I'm always very wary about pronouncing on individual cases because I wasn't there, I didn't hear the facts, the judge did. But nevertheless, when you consider what did you have? You had rape. And what have you got? You've had a non-custodial sentence. There is a mismatch there. And what is more is that actually diminishes the public's faith in justice. So the public think we don't bother to report it to the police, they won't do anything anyway. And when the public starts to lose confidence in the law and order agencies, once they do that, then, you know, you've got a recipe for criminals to do whatever they want to do.
Well, that is the problem currently in the country, isn't it? Because you've got so many cases now where people report things that happen, fights that go on in the street, people waving machetes around, you know, sort of ram-raided jewellery shops all over the place. Because technically speaking, if you are a criminal, there's a pretty good chance that you'll get away with it.
Well, that is true. The other thing is police priorities have been very, very warped. They are now gradually turning from investigating non-crime hate incidents. Well, if it's a non-crime, it's not the business of the police anyway. They have now turned slightly from that. But the fact is that for the last couple of decades, they have become more and more social police and much less criminal police. And that is what has gone wrong. And it's gone wrong over a long time. And again, governments have been pretty complacent. The recruitment hasn't kept up with the need. And I mean, a typical attitude now is if you've been burgled, why do you report it in order to get a crime number? Because otherwise you won't be insured. It's not because you think the police are going to be buzzing round with fingerprint powder in it. You don't think that at all. You just think, I've got to do this because of the processes.
Yeah, no, I once did a phone-in show on this about 2 years ago, maybe 3. And the record time that I think I heard on various different stories was somebody said they came home from holiday around about 7:45 one evening, Sunday evening, to discover their house had been burgled. They rang the police at 8 o'clock and reported it. And at 10:30, they got a call back from the police saying they'd closed the case without ever having come out to visit them. And they just said, here's your crime number. Didn't even bother going through the motions, And you're right. They just, and this is why I think crime is actually a lot worse than we think it is, because a lot of people actually don't even bother doing that. Because if, for example, when I had my phone stolen, I had it, luckily it was insured anyway, so I got a new one. I didn't have to report it to the police, so I didn't bother.
Yeah, that is a problem. A couple of decades ago, my garden shed was burgled and they stole a strimmer, it was not the end of the world. The police came and looked at it. They didn't actually do anything. They said, well, we think there's been another burglary, and they didn't, look for fingerprints to see if they could match that to the other burglary. But what did they offer me? They offered me counselling for the loss of the strimmer. They offered me counselling. And when I roared with laughter, sarcastic laughter, they said, well, sorry, but we have to do this. So they've got these stupid procedures whereby, you offer the victim counselling. What you don't offer the victim is a good hunt for the criminal.
Well, this is a bit like the Labour government's current state of play, where they think taking, VAT down to 5% in Legoland is going to be an incentive for people to go there, even though it costs hundreds of pounds to go to Legoland, while you get a discount of a couple of quid. It's not going to work, is it?
Complete absence of logic everywhere, absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, it is mad. What about this latest thing as well, where we've got now, I think, the longest, we've got the biggest rise in long-term unemployment for a decade. 477,000 people unemployed for more than a year, but also an awful lot of young people unable to get jobs. They're now suggesting, this is Alan Milburn, an old hangover from the Blair days, who's now the apparently employment czar for the government. Basically, he's saying families on benefits could be paid hundreds of pounds a month to stop them discouraging their teenage children from taking apprenticeships. And I was just like, sorry, so you're going to go round to somebody's house, and you knock on the door and say, are you discouraging your children from taking benefits, from taking apprenticeships rather? And they're going to go, yes. And so they're going to write you a cheque to say, please don't.
The thing that will encourage young people to take apprenticeships is if they don't have the option of living on benefits.
Yeah.
That is the thing that will actually encourage them to go out there and find a job. Now, I know lots of young people who are doing gap years who've managed to find jobs in order to save up, to go on their travels or whatever it is. Multiple jobs sometimes, one by day, one in the evening, another one at the weekends. So you can find jobs. You may not find jobs of your first choice, but you can find jobs, and that is where the emphasis should be. But instead of that, the emphasis is, what can we do for people who haven't got jobs to make life easier? Whereas what we should be saying is, what can we do to incentivize them to go and get the jobs? Now, I'm not denying, we are in one of those phases, which the country has gone through at regular intervals, where it is quite tough for young people to get a job. And I'm not denying that at all. But the answer is not to shell out yet more money. The answer is to make it possible to get a job.
Yes, I know. But I think one of the things that they've done since they've been in is to make it impossible to get a job. And I speak to people all the time whose kids are, graduates from university who can't even get a job washing up because people aren't employing them because they've got too many expenses running the business that they're running. And so many of the businesses that used to give you, say, a Saturday job working behind a till or working stacking shelves in supermarkets, they're just not there anymore.
Well, as I say, I also know young people who have managed to get multiple jobs because they're incentivized. They've got an aim to do it. So it is possible to do that. And the crucial thing is to make it not only possible for young people to find work, but for employers to offer them that work.
Yeah.
And the first thing Rachel Reeves did was to put up national insurance contributions, then put up the minimum wage. And if you increase the costs of employment, you decrease the ability, never mind the incentive, the ability of the employer to employ. So you don't have to look further than the government to see what's going on.
Yeah. They do seem to have this terrible kind of, their first instinct is always to hand out money, isn't it? To go, oh, well, if you can't do that, well, don't worry, we'll just look after you. You're vulnerable. You know, you must need help. And you know, as you say, that's not the way to do it, is it?
It's all part of where we came in when I was talking about infantilizing the population.
Yeah.
And that's really, what it's about. It isn't about expecting individuals to stand on their own feet unless there is something catastrophic, like, multiple disability.
Yeah.
It's not that. What we do is we say, oh dear, has something gone wrong? Look, we'll help. And help has got to be extremely targeted towards the people who need it. And they, because the help is very thinly distributed amongst a load of people who don't need it, the people who really need the help are not actually getting as much help as they need.
No, and that is the big problem. And great to see you. Hope you enjoy the afternoon. Do you have any plans for Bank Holiday Monday?
I'm afraid they're all lazy because of the weather, you see, and I won't overexert, and I'll make sure I've got my water bottles. Oh, for heaven's sake.
Yes.
I'm going to have a lazy bank holiday.
Okay. This from Lance has just come in. Can you get Anne to tell us about her Morris Minor convertible? I'm sure she'd love to. Do you have a Morris Minor convertible?
No, what he is thinking of is when I was young, my very first car was a Morris Minor. Which I then kept for about 13 years, and I sold it for 6 times as much as I paid for it.
Oh, really? Oh, that's very
So
good business.
It wasn't a convertible, but it was a good old Morris Minor with wing indicators and
Love those.
all the old stuff.
Yeah, brilliant. Fantastic. Good to see you, Anne. Thank you very much indeed. Anne Widdicombe's Substack, of course, can easily be found. And all you got to do is look up Substack and look up Anne Widdicombe, and you will find it there. Wonderful woman. We've got loads more to do. We're going to talk to Philip Ingram coming up very shortly. Then Sunil Sharma is going to be in the studio, I think, at which point we might play him Sadiq Khan's clip that we've got today. Loyal says this, morning, Michael. This talk of drinking water makes me think that the World Economic Forum say access to drinking water is not a basic human right. Who knows what the WEF say? Does anybody care about the Bao Schnell? Was that his name? What was it? Where is your knotted hanky for your head, Mike, says Mick. I've never actually worn a knotted hanky on my head, but thank you for asking. I don't wear hats really either. Somebody said to me yesterday, why don't you get a hat? It'll keep you cool. No, I don't like hats. And actually a hat will make... I mean, I did actually once buy a Panama hat, but it was for a stunt that I was doing. I was walking around London and I thought I'd buy a hat. And I don't know what's happened to it. Can't find it. Hello, Mike and Pooch, says Mr. Paul. Sorry for the angst caused to some of your viewers. I sent you the new UK corkboard map. It does have the Orkney Islands, but there's no space for the Shetlands, the Channel Islands or the Scillies. Mr. Burgess, you are very kind and we very much appreciate your efforts, and it's a lovely map. Yep. And I'm sorry for those people in Shetland who don't have a representation, and indeed the Scilly Isles and the Channel Islands as well, which also should be part of it. You know, there's only so much. Do you know, talk about pedants, right? I do a thing called Ask Mike on the Substack on the weekend, where Ziggy and I basically sit either in the house or outside the house and answer a few questions, usually fairly innocuous questions, right? Yesterday, because it was such a hot day, we sat under the shade of a big oak tree that we've got in the garden. And do you know what people have complained about?
No, go on.
The birds singing.
No.
I'm not joking.
No.
They've complained that the birds singing has interfered with the sound.
Maybe shoot them all next time.
Well, don't give Christopher any ideas, you know. But come on, guys. You know, I know that sometimes there are things that occasionally go wrong. We know that. But for heaven's sake, bird song, one of the most beautiful things that you can ever find in an English garden, and one of the things that you would miss if it wasn't here, right? Imagine if there were no... I've actually thought about this the other day. I was walking around down in Sussex with the dog, with Ziggy, and I thought, imagine how weird it would be if there was no bird song.
There's no bird song near my place in Italy because they all get shot. The Italians shoot them.
Really?
No bird song.
The Italians shoot the birds. Wow.
Yeah, and eat them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even sparrows.
Wow. I saw there was a video the other day somebody put out from Liverpool of some asylum seeker trying to having killed a pigeon, was taking it home to eat it. Poor birds. Yeah, the Italians are brutal people. Pooch is Italian, obviously. There's nothing personal. A bit like the French. I remember I'm having a bit of a rant here. I should probably move on. But do you remember that Jeremy Clarkson thing? He got a lot of trouble for because he ate
Ortolan.
those.
Ortolan.
Is that the bird that you put in? You eat the whole thing,
Yeah.
and you eat the bones as well. Yeah. The French, and the Chinese. Don't get me started on them. Where's Gibraltar? It's just at the end of Spain, if you look. KM, thank you. But it's not on our map, obviously, because it's a map of Britain. If you want a map of Gibraltar, I suggest you get a map of Gibraltar, or Spain, even. Anyway, should we get some news with Edward Hughes?
One quick super
Oh, hang on, another one. Morning, Mike. Have you heard anything about GB Energy's great leader, Jürgen? No, I haven't heard much from Jürgen, actually, for a while, because every time Ed Miliband shuts up for a while, so does Jürgen.
He's working from home.
He probably is working from home, yeah, with his heat pump. Absolutely. Let's get Edward Hughes with some news.
Good morning, all. I'm Edward Hughes. Wow, what a weekend. It was glorious. Edwina and I hit the beach. We're absolutely roasting in the hottest May on record. 34 degrees Celsius of glorious climate victory. Perfect for melting on the M25 while pretending it's not global weirding. Keir Starmer's appalled, his favourite word, that boys who raped girls got community service instead of jail. Because nothing says justice like a strongly worded statement and a quick review. Dover's in gridlock from New EU checks that France has now kindly paused, and the usual political circus continues, with reform making promises, and everyone's sweating through it. Stay hydrated, folks. Or don't. What difference does it make? Please subscribe if you haven't done so. K. Later's Tigers.
What was that noise? Fiona and I, says Seaside Babe. Yeah, bit puzzling that. I don't know what to say about that. Now, I'm going to do a meltdown, I think, later on the old weather scenario, because it has to be done. Right now, though, it's time for our next guest. Philip Ingram is here to talk about a great many things. Philip, very good morning to you. Welcome back to the Mike Graham Show.
Morning, Mike. Good to be back on.
Yeah, good to see you. Nice. I don't know if you're in the country or out of the country, but it's a lovely day. You're wearing quite a nice shirt as well. I decided to wear a Hawaiian shirt today just because I thought, slightly different look. But the news hasn't changed much because I'm looking at the front page of the Times and it says, I don't make bad deals, says Donald Trump. No need to rush Iranian peace deal. It feels like the same story gets kind of re-shunted around about once a week, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't think Donald Trump knows how to make a deal. He's being played quite effectively by the Iranians. And, he's got himself into a bit of a pickle. So he's trying to find some way of getting out of it where he can say that he's achieved something. But the reality is he's actually made the world a little bit more unstable.
Yeah, that is the situation. So where are we at the moment with this whole scenario? I'm looking at the petrol pumps every time I go and fill my car up. It keeps creeping up. It was up to sort of 162, I think, this weekend in London, certainly. And people aren't sort of getting worked up about it anymore. It seems as though we've all just accepted that petrol's going to cost a lot more money now, as long as the Straits of Hormuz are sort of, unnavigable.
Well, and the international oil prices drop. Rachel from accounts is going to go, everyone's used to high fuel prices, so it's going to tax us even more on that. So we need to start getting a little bit more angry, I think, about fuel prices. But where we are with the Iranian deal, Donald Trump and his team, Marco Rubio and et al. Are saying that they're very close. There might even be something signed today. The sticking points are really in two areas. It's getting rid of Iran's 60% enriched uranium. Now, Iran says it only ever has intention for a nuclear program that's for peaceful purposes. The maximum amount of enrichment of uranium you need for peaceful purposes is 3%. If you've got 60% enriched, it means you've got military desires to use it. And the other sticking point is linking any peace deal to Israel stopping its attacks on Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. And those are quite meaty points, especially for Iran. So whether there will be a deal or there won't be a deal, I'm slightly skeptical.
Yeah, the Telegraph's got a story today from Connor Stringer, their Washington correspondent, saying that the Straits of Hormuz will reopen very shortly, but the agreement is also hoping for an end to Iran and its enriched uranium program being continued. Is that just a bit of spin, do you think, from Washington?
There is a bit of spin in it, but there's practicalities in it. Iran's enrichment facilities have all but been destroyed. And we're talking of about 460 kilograms of already enriched uranium that Iran can't account for. And we think that they got out of their tunnels before they were sealed by the Americans. And therefore, the Americans are coming up with a proposal where, this could be handed back after, 60 days of further negotiations if they can get the Strait of Hormuz opened and everything else. Donald Trump is worried. He's worried about the fuel price, the international fuel price, because it's affecting US voters. And he's got his midterms coming up in November. So he's got one eye on that. He wants to try and get the international oil price down. And he's getting pressure from China and elsewhere. China relies on about 40% of its oil products coming through the Strait of Hormuz. And then we've got all of the other things like helium for CT scanners and everything else. This is massive.
Yeah, it is. And what about our sort of government's blunder last week, it would appear to have been anyway, when it turns out that we're buying crude oil from Russia, effectively, despite the fact that there's meant to be sanctions against us doing it.
Yeah, well, we're not buying crude oil from Russia. There was new sanctions being brought in where there was a hard stop on buying any products that had been refined from Russian crude oil. So the Russians are selling their crude oil to Indian refineries, and we're buying jet fuel and diesel and petrol from those Indian refineries that has been derived from Russian crude oil. Now, we are
buying Russian crude oil, then, aren't we? I mean, I know it's
we are effectively, but the government had said in September that they were going to stop that completely, and that would have been a fall off the cliff. What Keir Starmer has done is he said, we're not going to stop it for everything. We're only going to stop it for bits and pieces. So he's actually lied to the country when he says that we're not continuing with additional sanctions. There is UK money going to the Russians via India that is funding the killing of Ukrainian civilians and service personnel. That's the simple fact.
Yeah, absolutely. And the problem is that Starmer can't do anything in any way, shape or form, which is complete and utter kind of, consequential, because he's always thinking of, what's going to happen if I do this. So he only sort of half does anything, doesn't he? He doesn't actually go full forward, full speed ahead into anything that he does.
Yeah, well, he's never planned anything. He hasn't done the what ifs. If this happens, that could be the outcome. Therefore, we'll do this. Therefore, we'll do that. He's making it up as he goes along, and he's making it up from a political, theoretical perspective. He's not looking at the practicalities of everything that he's doing, and he's got a very, very weak team around him that's advising him.
Yeah.
The strongest person he's got on defence is Al Cairns. Just look at what Al Cairns is doing. He's a junior defence minister, former special forces officer and the most decorated veteran in Parliament. But, he's sitting there posting pictures of sunsets and him having a beer rather than anything of any substance from a minister.
What is that all about? It's very, very strange behaviour, because quite often, I mean, one of the things he didn't do, which I think a lot of people were disappointed in, he didn't turn up in the House of Commons when there was a vote on that Troubles bill, which an awful lot of people thought, look, if you're going to vote against something, go and have the cojones to vote against it. Don't just not be there and then announce that you're not going to be there.
Yeah, well, exactly. He hadn't the cojones to stand up to Keir Starmer because he didn't want to be sacked from being a minister. He turned up the next day to vote to protect Keir Starmer when there was that vote of no confidence going in against him. So there's no excuse. I think Al Cairns is being advised by a PR company in Birmingham that's saying make everything about Al Cairns, which is wrong, because he's a leader and he should be making everything about his leadership capability, his ability to bring disparate teams together, which is what he's done in operations from a military perspective. He's getting it so badly wrong, yet he's trying to set himself up as a potential leadership candidate should we ever get this move against Keir Starmer, which looks increasingly unlikely.
Yeah, indeed. I don't know why they're doing it today. It might just be because it's a bit of a slow news day. But Sky have got a kind of a special report going out today saying, should people in Britain be preparing for war? One, I read a piece last week that said, if we did go to war, we've only got enough drones for about a week's worth of drone attacks. And also, I'm looking at a piece in the Times today saying John Healey was travelling home after visiting British soldiers in Estonia when his plane, the RAF jet that he was on, was hit by an electronic warfare bug from the Russians. So if we are preparing for war, it doesn't sound like we're very prepared.
we're not very prepared in the slightest. And actually, it's not just preparing for war; it's preparing for natural resilience. And the COVID pandemic showed that we weren't right for that. We haven't learned any of the lessons from that. And now we've got an increasingly strong path to potential global conflict. We need to be prepared for that, because the general population wouldn't know what to do if an air raid siren went off. In fact, most cities probably don't have air raid sirens. We don't have bunkers under our houses like many continental countries do, so no one knows where to go and shelter. And we need to plan these sort of things, and we need to explain to people what to do, because the part of the planning process brings in a robustness in society. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It just means that if something does happen, actually, we know what we're going to do about it, and it's going to save people's lives. How do you connect all of the elements of the NHS whenever some are being overwhelmed by mass casualties that are coming in from a potential explosion somewhere? We sort of make it up at the moment. We've got the ability to deal with sort of mass terror casualties, but not casualties caused by the sort of thing that we see coming in from if there was a shooting war. And then again, we've got everything that's going on in what we call the grey zone. So the attack on the Defence Secretary's aircraft by electronic warfare going past Kaliningrad, that happened to Grant Shapps when he did it.
Yeah, I remember
It's pretty common, yet we're doing nothing about it.
Right.
And therefore, the time has come where instead of sitting there doing nothing about it, or doing the great British thing of writing a very stiff letter, we actually need to start to take this stuff seriously.
I mean, really. There was a little message earlier, Pooch, about the some kind of hypersonic attack on Kiev. If you could find it, I just wanted to ask Philip about that to see whether he knows much about it. In terms of Russia hit Kiev with a massive hypersonic missile yesterday, a significant escalation, says Great Waldo. Is that similar to what the Americans had in Venezuela? Because I remember reading that the Americans used some really, really incredible modern technology when they went into Venezuela to take out Maduro, and it was a lot of it was some kind of hypersonic related stuff. What is that exactly?
Yeah, no, it's completely different. The stuff that the Americans used in Venezuela was something that disabled the guards on the ground, caused them a temporary condition where they couldn't actually react. So it was probably something it was probably a sound-based weapon or a microwave-based weapon. What the hypersonic missile is that hit Kyiv, there's two missiles that are hypersonic. There's one that sort of flies very, very fast, like a very, very fast cruise missile. That's the Kinzhal missile, and the Russians use that fairly frequently. And the other missile that is hypersonic is the medium-range ballistic missiles that the Russians use. It has got a hypersonic speed whenever it comes in, and it's the use of these medium-range ballistic missiles that have got a very, very short flight time that hit Kyiv and hit the apartment blocks there. And this is an escalation by the Russians. They've used it once or twice beforehand, but not in the concentration that was used this time. They're very, very difficult to shoot down.
Right, so it's more about the speed than it is about the effect of them, I suppose. Yeah, but that's interesting.
It is.
Great. Philip, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. One last question. I'm being asked what's behind the black curtain. Something sinister, we hope.
No, it's lots of boxes of stuff. It's a way of hiding. It's a way of hiding shit, as they say.
Yes, indeed. I was wondering if you were getting ready for the oncoming war scenario. You've got sort of loads of military equipment back there, but
that's exactly what's there in the box and all that. So it's my crash out kit. Excellent. Once you start seeing me coming on the show with my bulletproof vest on and my helmet on and my backpack beside me, that's the time to start getting worried.
That's when we'll know to get the hell out. Good stuff. Philip Ingram, thank you very much indeed. Philip Ingram there reporting from his defensive bunker. Always good. Coming up, we're going to have Sunil Sharma here. But first, shall we do a meltdown? Because it's time. Although I feel as though I should have that big water bottle with me again when I do it. But I don't know whether we can do that. Shall we do a meltdown?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, we're going to do this, by the way. I'm going to take this on the train with Pooch. We're going to carry it around because I'm sick to death of being told that it's hot. Okay? I know it's hot. You can tell that it's hot because my body feels the heat in the same way that it feels the cold. So when I go out, and also everybody's telling me it's 34 degrees. Make sure you drink plenty of water. Okay, then. I've got water here. Do you think that's enough for a quick journey on the underground? How do you think? 5 stops? This will be enough. Maybe I need more water. There are people carrying things almost this big on the underground, okay? And I kid you not, the reason why is because they're terrified. Need more. Here we go. Some more water. Terrified. You know, I'm now 65 years of age, right? I've lived in this country of ours. Well, not quite 65 years because I've lived in other countries as well. But I lived in America. I've been to, I've been to very hot countries. This time last year, I was in Dubai, actually, right? And so this is great. So I'm thinking the best way to fight off the temperatures is to take lots of advice from lots of politicians, right? And to make sure you never run out of water. So I'm now determined, right? These are going to travel with me for the whole week. Maybe we'll get some kind of trolley that we can put them on, just in case, because you don't want to run out, do you? Should we have a look at what advice Stella Creasy has got for us and see whether she can give us an idea?
Walthamstow, it's Friday the 22nd of May. The Met Office has issued what it calls a yellow weather warning. What that means is they are concerned that the temperature will rise enough over the next couple of days, basically until Wednesday of next week, that it may cause problems for some vulnerable people within our community. Now, they're predicting around 32 degrees. So, for example, the tube might get really hot and uncomfortable. If you haven't drunk enough water, you might overheat. If you've got a health condition, you might find it very difficult to move around in those sorts of temperatures. I'm sharing this information so that you can share it with people. Please do carry water with you at all times over the next couple of days. Wear sunscreen, sun protection, sunstroke, a real risk as well. If you know of vulnerable people within our local community, please do check in on them over the next couple of days. Make sure that your pets and your kids are drinking enough water and have access to drinking water too. If you are a local business, please consider providing a shaded area so that if anybody needs to sit down and recover, they can come in and be aware of these potential risks. It's lovely to have sunny evenings in Walthamstow, but actually at these sorts of levels of heat, there could be real problems for some in our community. So by working together, we can help keep Walthamstow safe in whatever the weather is.
So,
you got water dispenser behind you, Mike.
Just to make sure that I don't get dehydrated. I've got some water. I've got the machine behind me now as well. Okay. It's very dangerous out there, right? So I'm going to sit here all afternoon just drinking water.
Dehydrated, Mike.
Do you think I look a bit dehydrated? Yeah, here we go. Crikey. It is dangerous out there, right? So if you can't get as much water around you as I have, don't be alarmed. Because what you can do is go down to...
Mike, you need water.
Oh, more water. 25 degrees.
Yeah, quick water.
Right, here we go.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, I feel fine. I was starting to feel a bit weak earlier.
Yeah, a bit dehydrated.
A bit dehydrated because you've got to be careful. If you've got some kind of, health issue, you think Stella Creasy might have something better to do, right? The stupid woman that she is, right? She didn't like the fact that I had made fun of her as well. And she had a go at me, bizarrely. But the point is, you can never have enough water. Actually, you can. If you drink too much water, can you not get water on the brain or something?
It can kill you.
It can kill you. So be very careful not to, it's a balancing act.
There you go. Have the machine behind you, Mike.
I'll get some other water from here, shall I? Yeah. Yeah. Do you notice, by the way, when you take these things out, you always get more than one, don't you? I always go put it back in like that. And then, here we go. Yeah, you can feel yourself getting weaker by the minute. Oh, that's better. Yeah, that's better. I feel like I can do the rest of the show now because we've got another half an hour to go. Anyway, listen, just take my advice. Also, by the way, here's a bit of a pop quiz for you, Stella. Stella Creasy, who has constituencies in Walthamstow, which is on the Victoria line. It doesn't get any hotter on the tube just because it's hot on the surface of the street, okay? Because the tube's underground. It doesn't get affected by the actual temperature above ground. It only gets affected by the temperature below ground, which doesn't actually get any hotter. Stupid idiot. So, anyway, luckily I've got Pooch to help me out here to make sure I don't get in any way dehydrated. I'll be drinking probably. I'll take one of these home with me in the car because you know you might get a bit thirsty in the car. Yeah. So I'll hook one up in the car so that I can have water at all times. You know what you mean. I've got some very funny. And that's a bit harsh. Somebody's calling me a bad name. It begins with W. No. You'd probably get an A star in GCSE producing an awful video like that. You mean Stella Creasy, you mean, not me. Water will warm up, so you'll be drinking warm water. Ancient says the tube gets hotter in hot weather. It doesn't actually. Mike, come and live here in Queensland. Well, listen, anyway, time to do some news, isn't it?
Good morning, all. I'm Edward Hughes. Wow, what a weekend. It was glorious. Edwina and I hit the beach. We're absolutely roasting in the hottest May on record, 34 degrees Celsius of glorious climate victory, perfect for melting on the M25 while pretending it's not global weirding. Keir Starmer's appalled, his favourite word, that boys who raped girls got community service instead of jail. Because nothing says justice like a strongly worded statement and a quick review. Dover's in gridlock from New EU checks that France has now kindly paused, and the usual political circus continues, with reform making promises, and everyone sweating through it. Stay hydrated, folks. Or don't. What difference does it make? Please subscribe if you haven't done so. K. Later's Tigers.
See, I didn't hear the funny noise there that time.
Weird.
We've moved some of the water out of the way because we've been warned that it could be a health and safety issue.
No, I'm getting dehydrated.
But Pooch has taken one over to his desk because obviously he's getting it. But I'm going to keep the machine here with me.
Yeah.
Because you never know. I might get dehydrated any minute now, which is obviously a bit of a worry. This from Andy. Loving your morning shows, Mike. Looking at the advert on the water bottle, is that you smiling as you dive into the water? Happy bank holiday from sunny Southampton, Andy and Tina. Is there an advert on the water?
Maybe.
Where?
The other one there is. No, on the other bottle.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, look, it's upside down. Refreshing the way we live. It's a good slogan, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll just have some more water. Oh. Actually, I do drink quite a lot of water anyway, which is why I'm obviously so healthy.
Yeah.
Clearly. Right. Anyway, should we talk to Sunil Sharma? Sunil, very good morning to you, sir.
Morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good to see you. I'm just making sure that I've got enough water because obviously Stella Creasy's been giving out warnings to everyone to make sure that, you know, they don't get dehydrated because it's so hot. I mean, has she never been to a hot country where people actually live and work and move around and do all sorts of things? It's bloody ridiculous.
It's crazy. I mean, I think she should focus more on what the disgraceful stuff she's done for women's rights. The things that she's talked about are pretty horrific. She's one that's talked about schools educating or giving teachers guidance on helping kids come out as trans and things like this. This is a really horrible person to then sit there and talk about water in a hot country like people can't take responsibility for their own lives. It's more craziness from this crazy gang of people in power.
I know, it really is. I mean, she might also want to take a bit of care about what's going on currently in government, you know, which doesn't appear to be very much. You know, they're all sort of standing around trying to point at each other as to who wants to do what and who's going to run what. And, you know, it's becoming more and more bizarre as every day that passes. You know, it's almost as though Keir Starmer is sitting there pretending that everything's fine, pretending that he wants to stay in his job and that nobody wants him to leave, when in fact everybody wants him to leave, from the lowliest backbencher right up to Andy Burnham. And suddenly now, he's now talking about going to campaign for Andy Burnham in Manchester in order to help him to get his job, which seems very odd.
Bizarre. I mean, it makes no sense. I mean, he's going to help the guy who probably wants to take his job. They're really a really weird, strange bunch of people at the moment in that Labour Party. And like, I don't want to be too negative towards them, but it's hard to be anything other than that with them. There is very few people, if anyone, in that party that has any common sense or has any kind of standpoint on what they believe in, what their values are. I think Andy Burnham's doing this to become the next prime minister of this country, and Keir Starmer's helping him do that. It's a really weird, strange situation that we see ourselves in. I mean, you just got to hope that this comes to an end as soon as possible, that they just call a general election, however long it takes. And the great thing is, pretty much all of them have talked about the fact that when Liz came into power from Boris, when Rishi Sunak came into power from Liz, there should be a general election. They've all very vocally pretty much said that when there is a change of leader that hasn't been elected by the British mandate, there should be a general election. So I'm looking forward to them honouring that commitment and doing a general election shortly after they get elected leader of their party.
Well, funnily enough, there is some talk of that. There was a piece at the weekend saying that people advising Burnham are saying that if he does win, he should have a general election because they think, and I presume this is their thinking process, that Reform might not be ready and they might be able to sort of take them on the run, as it were, because Reform won't have enough candidates. I'm not sure that's true.
Yeah, I agree. I think anyone will vote against Labour Party right now. We're seeing that in a lot of these results. I mean, they're just going to, maybe Reform might not be ready, or maybe Reform may not have enough candidates, but the British public won't be voting for this party. I think the scary thing I find with the next general election, I think I mentioned it on this show before, is the rise of the Green Party. I think that genuinely does worry me in terms of how popular they seem to be and how they are getting a lot of votes and how people are somehow interested in these lunatics who are talking about some really crazy things that I don't think any mainstream or any big party would ever vocalize. So that does concern me. Biggest thing, if a next general election happens, I don't see Labour doing anything. Just considering how bad they've been in the last 2 years, I don't see that being a threat. But definitely the Greens, I think, is something to be really worried about. I don't think we can talk about it enough. Some of the stuff that they've said, these policies, they're just not. A 15-year-old wouldn't come up with this stuff. It's really scary. Some of the stuff that Zach Polanski and his people are pushing.
It's proper loony left stuff, isn't it? I don't know if you saw the poll over the weekend of teachers. I don't know if they're having a conference or something, but there was a poll that came out which showed that there's the same percentage of teachers now who would vote Green as would vote Labour. So, if that's what you're hearing about in school, if your kids are going to school and the teacher's a Green Party supporter, they're going to be hearing all about how, property is theft, how, rental rights have to be strengthened and that you shouldn't really be allowed to be a landlord, that you shouldn't read the Daily Mail, that all rich people are terrible, horrible, ghastly individuals who don't pay enough tax. They'll be giving them all of that propaganda, and then we'll wonder why the kids, grow up thinking weird stuff.
100%. I think schools have become completely politicized. They're getting indoctrinated with absolute nonsense. You look at British white boys, for example. They're the worst performing kids in the whole country. They have the lowest numeracy rates, lowest literacy rates. No one cares. No one will ever talk about that. And what do you expect? They're fed every single day at school talking about their white guilt, their white privilege, and then you worry about why they lack confidence or why they have masculinity issues, all this sort of stuff that's going on. Well, why would they not? Like, they're literally talked about every day in terms of all the awful things that the British Empire did and all British people did. And so they're now, how can they have any confidence in schools? Schools are completely indoctrinated. They're not fit for purpose. There has been, an over-feminization in schools, and that doesn't mean that there needs to be more less female teachers, but there has been an over-feminization in schools. Boys can no longer be anything, show any of their true biological state. If they show any type of aggression or any kind of just natural boy behavior, they need to be taught how to control that aggression, not to be suppressed, not to be feel like they are less worthy, not to be overly feminized. And I think there is a serious issue at schools. They're being indoctrinated. A lot of that is from the woke left ideology, and some of that is from I think a lack of positive male role models. 90% of pretty much all academic people in schools are female. Then that needs to change, because I think there's, in particular, if they really want to care about the future of this country, it starts at school. And I don't think any of, in particular, boys at school, I don't think they're getting any good education going forward. I think people in general, and the curriculum is just not fit for purpose. You go across the world, and the type of stuff that's being taught at British schools is not being taught anywhere else. It's only being taught in Britain and parts of the West. No one else is talking about the stuff that we are talking about, and it's embarrassing. These schools are not going into schools to learn. They're not going in to get educated. They're getting there to be filled with this woke left nonsense, and come out of that school feeling with no confidence, feeling like they have no hope for their future, and feeling like guilt. How on earth is that good for any person in this country? I think it really is embarrassing. And I think the education secretary and people across the UK should be more worried about it. I think it should be talked about more, but unfortunately it won't be.
I mean, that is the problem, isn't it? I mean, we've got a story on the front page of the Times today which tells you everything that's wrong with the Labour government, because their instincts are all wrong. Alan Milburn, who was, of course, I think, Secretary of State for Health under Tony Blair, is now another one of those Blair hangers-on who's got a job in government. He's the work czar, apparently, and I saw him talking on the BBC at the weekend. His idea now is that we should give more money to people on benefits to stop them from persuading their kids not to get jobs. I mean, how much more money do they think we should be providing? I saw a clip at the weekend from a show in Scotland put on by Stephen Jardine. I can't remember the name of it, but they had some SNP woman on there who said, oh yeah, we should definitely cap the price of food in supermarkets. We should tell supermarkets to cap the price of food, and we should pay, the government should give them money effectively in order to reduce the cost to the people. And somebody in the audience said, well, who's going to pay for that? And she went, the taxpayer. And you're going, so what, you want to take money from me to give to an internationally, globally successful company to keep their prices down so that somebody else can buy something cheaper? It's completely economically illiterate, isn't it?
100%. I think that point on you made earlier about the UK Labour, the government talking about the 16 to 24-year-olds and helping them in terms of whether it be with benefits or, I've seen a report that they need the government want employers to take into account their anxiety and their problems with social media and their addictions to social media and all this sort of stuff. It's absolute nonsense. You should be teaching these children to be stronger, both mentally and physically. You should not be pandering to the fact that there is a lot of anxiety within the younger generations. Some of this anxiety, I'm sorry to say, it is made up. It's made up on a mobile phone. It's become from a lack of exercise, of going outside. It's a lack of mental training. And that should not be a taboo thing to say. There are people in this country who are just not mentally strong enough. And I don't mean, every generation could argue that each generation gets weaker. We're not talking about World War previous generation. We're just talking about basic tasks. There is a serious problem when you look at 16 to 24-year-olds who are incapable of leaving their room, who just are unable to do simple things in life. That should not be encouraged. That should not be pandered down to. There's a serious weak conditioning. And all that's going to happen is it's going to drive businesses outside of our country. It's going to mean that there's going to be less employment opportunity for these young people. No business is going to hire people who are incapable of performing basic tasks. And the idea that this British government, rather than trying to look at why these 16 to 24-year-olds so lost, why do they have so many issues, instead of trying to focus on those things and trying to help those things, they're trying to get businesses to pander for these children. It makes no sense. You'll see businesses leave this country like they already are. There'll be no wealth created for these kids. And what's going to happen is you're going to have these lost 16, 24-year-olds who come further lost in their adult lives. They're not going to have children. They're not going to get married. They're not going to make the next stages of their life. And why? What does the British government think the solution is? To keep pandering to them, to ask employers to make allowances for them? No one's going to do that.
No.
And I think that just priorities are wrong. I think this what the lies that have been fed in the last 10, 20 years from the left is a disgrace, and it's setting up so many young people for failure. And I think I think there's some really not so nice people within that party who don't care. And second of all, I think there's some people who surely must know that they are damaging the future of these children, the future of their lives. But then again, why would they? They've talked about how they think a man can change into a woman can change into a man, knowing the fact, not knowing that statistics prove that the amount of people who do transition in later life, how much they regret it. They know the fact that their average age lifespan will dramatically decrease. But again, they don't seem to care. They just they're happy to see the destruction of this country, and I think it's so sad. And the sooner these guys are out, the sooner there is an actual general election, the sooner we can actually talk about more serious things and really talk about trying to uplift the country.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, let me show you something that will probably not shock you, but will take you perhaps slightly by surprise. Sadiq Khan was talking at the weekend about how he thinks the far right, as he calls it, which I presume by which he probably means the Reform Party, are being bankrolled by foreign agents. Check this out.
39% of negative social media and knife crime, 39% is made and pushed by the far right. 25% of stories in social media around violence against women and girls and misogynistic stuff comes from the far right. But we also now know there are Russian-backed, Chinese-backed and MAGA-backed groups pushing this disinformation, misinformation and lies. So you've got two things happening at the same time. Monetizing negativity by individuals who want to make money, but also people with their own motivations, Russia, China, Donald Trump supporters doing the same. And when you think about it, if you're a nativist, if you're somebody who's passionate about monoethnicity, if you're a nationalist, if you're somebody who believes that Christianity is superior to every diverse, we're multicultural, and on any objective criteria, the greatest city in the world, we're the antithesis of all you believe in.
So apparently now, if you think Christianity is the best religion in the world, that makes you far right. Huh? What's he talking about?
When he says on every metric they are London is the greatest city in the world, what about the fact that in Europe, per capita, London is the #1 city of the most sexual violence happening? I mean, it's embarrassing. He should be ashamed of himself. The fact that he's trying to blame Russia, China, everyone but himself.
And
That's
also
what's
Donald
interesting
Trump
about
supporters. He's not even blaming, sort of crazy, white supremacists in America. It's basically any Donald Trump supporter. And also, he's the only person in that picture who's lying is Sadiq Khan. This is a guy who lied about the clean air zone, who lied and manipulated the figures on the way that supposedly ULEZ was cleaning the air up in London, who lies constantly about statistics on knife crime, who lies constantly about rape gangs. He says they don't exist in London. Misinformation and lying is his speciality.
100%. I think it's embarrassing. He's just trying to avoid responsibility of the fact that he's been a failure of a mayor. He's destroyed all essence of London. I don't know what he's talking about when he talks about these metrics. I get to travel with my job, and everyone says the same thing about London. What is happening to London? It's becoming a joke. It's a universal factor that London is in decline. London is an absolute chaos and mess. Yes, London in the sun is amazing, and yes, there's so many great things about London, but that's got absolutely nothing to do with Steve Khan, nothing to do with what he's achieved. All he has done has brought pain to Londoners and that city. How he keeps getting re-elected is beyond me. I don't think there's a more destructive politician in the last 10 years than him. You look at what's happening in London, it's so sad, it's so annoying. And the fact that he just can't take basic accountability, he blames all the issues he doesn't blame. He thinks London has no issues. He doesn't think the fact that London is a rape capital of Europe. He doesn't think that's a big deal, clearly. He doesn't care about the rising crime stats. He doesn't care about the fact that businesses are leaving London. He doesn't care about the fact that this is no longer the financial hub of the world. He doesn't care about the fact that people don't feel safe in that city. He doesn't care about the fact women don't feel safe in that city. Doesn't care about the fact that you walk outside anywhere in London, if you don't hold your phone with two hands, somebody's going to take it out your hands on a motorbike, and they probably won't even get prosecuted. He doesn't care about the fact you can go into a shop and steal something and no one will do anything. So this is a man who doesn't care about London, doesn't care about his people, and instead of taking accountability and responsibility like any decent human being would, he's going to blame it on the far right, which is the easy thing to do. You're going to blame it on Trump's supporters. I mean, there's 80 million of them that voted for him in the last election. So clearly they're all far right as well, according to him. He's going to blame it on China, Russia. It's so absurd and it's so embarrassing. Take responsibility. You're an awful, awful mayor. You've got worse as time's gone on. Leave the city, call a general election, let somebody else take accountability for London. Somebody who actually cares about his people and not just a certain demographic of people in that city.
Absolutely right. I mean, he was talking at the weekend of being in for 10 years, and I suddenly thought to myself, crikey, has it really been that long? And how on earth is it possible for some individual to be able to stay in one job for 10 years? He shouldn't be allowed to. We just had a note there from someone saying, make it 4 years max, that would work for me. I don't see why you need to have more than a 4-year term. That's the man from Kernow. I mean, yesterday, you could pick any day of the week, but yesterday, a 17-year-old boy was stabbed in southwest London after a mass gathering of teenagers was organised on TikTok. 9 people were arrested after fights broke out at a music event organised on social media. No mention of that from him at all, but that's the kind of thing that happens like all the time. And the only other thing that I saw from him for the upcoming sort of next few days is yet another Eid celebration in Trafalgar Square. Now, call me old-fashioned, but I feel like we have an Eid celebration about once a month. I thought it was only once a year.
I mean, his priorities aren't London. They're not British people. And whatever your definition of that is, he just doesn't care. I don't think he sits there and wakes up in the morning and thinks, I need to act in the best interests of the people that he's supposed to represent. I think it's for other people. It's for people that are not, a lot of them aren't even British, and that's his values, and that's what he cares about, and consolidating power. Not taking any responsibility for his actions, because he can spin it and twist it in a way, and then he will go on the kind of show that you just showed, the clip you just showed, get absolutely no scrutiny from anyone from mainstream media, because he is brown, he's Pakistani, so obviously you can't criticize him, you can't say anything bad towards him, because if you do, you're racist. So he can get away with any responsibility. He doesn't get questioned. He refuses to get questioned by anyone seriously. And then if you do, he probably pulls out the race card. And it's embarrassing. I think people have seen through it. And I can't wait for him to be removed from his position, because no matter who comes in next, you'd expect the city to be in a much better place. And it's just frustrating. The fact that he could do and go on a show and speak like that and really take no responsibility of what's going on in UK, and just act as if London's this perfect, amazing city. And London is an amazing city for its history, for its heritage, for the great things that happened before Sadiq Khan. There's nothing good that's happened post him.
No, exactly. I found the Eid on the Square is what it is. It's the 30th of May, 2026, 12 to 6 p.m. in Trafalgar Square. And he says everyone's invited. Well, are women invited? Are they going to stand in a different part of the square? Are they going to be allowed to stand in the same part of the square as the men? Not everybody wants to be invited, actually.
I think he'd do a much better job if he just actually cared about its actual people of Britain and London, and actually cared about, rather than the celebrations for minorities and other groups and everyone else, rather than the majority of the population in London, the majority of people in Britain. But I don't think he cares about that. I think there is clearly somebody who you could almost look at somebody who just has no interest in any other culture but his own, and I think that's really scary, considering, because still at this stage, maybe he needs reminding that still at this stage 80% of the country is white, the majority of this country is Christian, and he is an elected member to serve those people, to serve those 80% of this population, to serve those, the majority of the religion being Christian. He actually has a responsibility for those people, not just for his perception of what he thinks that his people are. Everyone in this country should be his people, but I don't think he cares about that. And no one can call him out on it, because if you do, like I say, you're just going to be labelled racist, and he'll label you far right, and then you'll get idiots who will actually, put him on a stage and let him speak like that. That interview, which I saw, that the person refuses to even push him back, do anything back. There are a big page on X and Instagram and all these different pages, and there's no pushback, nothing. He goes on BBC, it's the same thing. Goes on ITV, it's the same thing. No one pushes back on it. No one actually asks for accountability, because if they do, maybe they fear if they do, or maybe they've just been so indoctrinated that they don't actually have the mental mind frame to actually seriously question this man. I'd love him to come on this show. It'd be amazing, Mike, if you could somehow interview him and get him on this show.
I've asked him to come on my show for about 5 of the 10 years he's been mayor, I would imagine, maybe longer. I've had probably 50 or 60 requests put into him, and then he's not interested. A couple of people pointing out that Eid was the 19th and 20th of March. Why is it being celebrated at the end of May? It's quite a weird one, that. And Duncan said, well, maybe if we are all invited, we should all turn up and fly the flag and see if he actually means everyone's invited. I suspect that wouldn't happen.
No, of course not. He's not. This is a person. I think I think as more and more time's gone on, I think we're seeing this as somebody who doesn't serve the interest of Londoners or serve the interest of the UK. That's very clear. But I think that the thing for him, and what's probably really damaging for him, why he's maybe more on the offensive of trying to blame other people, is I think it's becoming quite well known about how bad the situation is in London. So I think he's trying to look at ways to try and take that responsibility away from himself. That's why he's doing his deluded stuff of blaming Russia, China, MAGA supporters, the far right, because I think he's starting to see that there is actually a rise against him. He is seeing there's a lot of people who are not just white, who are strongly against his principles, strongly against his values. So I think he's trying to find ways to take away that responsibility and almost scare people. I think that's another thing. I think he wants to scare people. If you're a white person in the UK and you criticize, it's almost like, how dare you criticize him? If you do criticize him, you are far right, you are a racist. So I think he's almost trying to put that fear into people that don't you dare even try and criticize him, because you either have to be far right, Russian, Chinese, or part of the MAGA supporting people, which is again an insult. There's 80 million people vote for Trump, whether you like it or not. To just insult that many people, I think it's really not fair. You could have said something else, but I think he's very deliberate in what he says, and so that just tells you the kind of man he is. And the sooner he's gone, the better for the country and better for the capital of the United Kingdom.
Absolutely right. So Neil, you get a lot of praise today. Such a calm, sensible voice in all the madness. There was who's that from?
That's from Red Black.
Red Black, thank you, Sunil. Yeah, Red Black, thank you very much indeed. Also, a lot of people like the shirt too, so well done for joining in on the old Hawaiian shirt front. And hopefully, next time we see you, we'll both be dressed slightly less festively, I guess. But thank you very much indeed, Sunil. Good to see you. Sunil Sharma there, making perfect sense. A lot of people appreciating the water scenario. So it's possibly the funniest thing I've ever seen, says Luce. And people are like literally retweeting the video already. And somebody sent it to Stella Creasy, which is great. Deb says, my husband and I are crying with laughter, one of the best things we've seen and heard in a long time. Keep up the great work. Safety advice from Stella Creepy. Yeah, very good. I guess it's time for Pooch's Pooch, isn't it? Quick super chat. Forgive the criticism from Texas, but MAGA supporters have much more to worry about than influencing London politics. Please drink your water, Mike. Great show. Yeah, of course. How ridiculous, by the way, to start blaming people that voted for Donald Trump for people who apparently tell lies about knife crime. The only person who tells lies about knife crime is bloody Sadiq Khan. Peace says, my girlfriend announced a hose ban. Really? Some bad luck. Nice jugs, Mike. It's getting hot. Please drink lots of water, but not too much, says Claude. Yeah, very good. You can never have enough jugs of water. I can't stop laughing. I suggest you take it on the tube in an enormous backpack. I think that's the plan. Yeah, we've hatched a plan already. We might wait for it to get really hot, though. So in day 4, we'll do it, Khan blames everyone but himself. Next he'll be blaming the sunshine, the moonlight, the good times, and even the boogie. Yeah, no kidding. Right. Pooch's Pooch. Let's go.
Wait for the madness to end.
That's so funny.
It's okay.
That's great. Brilliant. You got to love them. Great to see Pooch back. Charlotte was here all last week, did a brilliant job, and Pooch is back in control. We will be back tomorrow morning from 7 a.m. sharp. I'll probably be back in my collar and tie and jacket, no doubt. But I will be taking lots of water with me, obviously, wherever I go, because you remember, it's very hot out there. And if you don't drink a lot of water, you might die. What can you do? See you tomorrow.
Why don't you relax and be a bit more MG? That would be a triumph.